preview, so we can certainly go through what matches are coming up. So there's going to be a title eliminator tournament, and Nick Wayne against Darby Allin, I believe, is taking place in that. We are getting those two going up against each other. We're getting Trent Beretta against Roderick Strong. That's in that title eliminator. We've also got Aussie Open taking on Le Sex Gods, Sammy and Jericho. We got Moxley taking on AR Fox. We got Statlander taking on Emi Sakura, and MJF is going to be speaking as well. So few things that have been announced. As I said, it would be good to have that graphic. I'm a big fan of those graphics, but unfortunately they have not put one out yet. I'll keep an eye out for it though, in case one does drop later. But yes, as we said, pretty stacked show. As always, they do a good job of announcing quite a few things in advance. But is it Grand Slam? Grand Slam. Yeah, I think it's Grand Slam tonight. Grand Slam World Title Eliminator. Unless we're building towards Grand Slam. Are we working our way towards Grand Slam? I don't know. It's a Grand Slam at some point. So Grand Slam World Title Eliminator Tournament quarterfinal stage. Trent Beretta versus Roderick Strong. I would also kind of like a bracket to have a look and see this tournament as well, so that we could have a look at this tournament. But I don't have a bracket that breaks down this tournament, so we are lacking a few graphics today, unfortunately. We are definitely falling behind on the graphics front, so I'll keep an eye out for it, but at the moment, that's all we have. William, shout out to you, said driving is on the way out. Once we can just think of where we want to go and we will get there instantly. That is the future. Kian, hello, shout out to you. I hope you're well. My day's been all right. Big thank you to everyone that checked out that 10 directions, new directions video. Really enjoyed doing that. I wanted to do an NXT review, but unfortunately, there are no ups and downs for NXT, so I wasn't able to kind of bounce off that. I find it so easy, or so much easier, more convenient to like bounce off the What Culture ups and downs compared to just like having to, you know, talk about a whole show from scratch. I mean, I've got my notes. It's not a problem. I watched the show. I've got the notes, but it's just a much easier way of doing it. It's just to bounce off that. And I think it makes for a more entertaining video as well, because as I said, you're getting like more perspectives in that video. So I wanted to do NXT review, but couldn't. So I looked to see like if there was anything that caught my eye, and I really like that New Directions article. I thought there was some really good points made, and so we bounced off that. And yeah, I liked the video. I thought it was good, and it seems like people enjoyed it as well. The feedback and the kind of like to dislike ratio and everything's been really positive. So definitely going to look to do more of those. But yeah, big thank you to everyone that checked that out. That's been my day, really. I did that and then did my UFC research. I'm trying to get ahead of that. Definitely want to do some members something tomorrow. So there will be a members something, probably a stream. But yeah, I'm trying to make sure I'm free tomorrow for that. So I'm trying to get my UFC research done tonight. Mitchell said, I don't know if this is a hot take, go for it, but NXT has shot up to maybe my favorite show of the week. I love what they're doing right now. I mean, like, I don't know. Yeah, I would agree. I don't know if that classes as a hot take. I'm glad that you're enjoying NXT. I do think they're doing some really good stuff. I've seen lots of fallout from that Von Wagner ending to NXT. And actually, it wasn't as split as I thought. Like, in the moment, my initial reaction to the ending of NXT was that, oof, like, some fans are going to feel cheated here. Like, you've done this brutal spot where you've smashed the ring steps onto the head of one of the wrestlers. Like, the noises of the commentators and everything were all like, oh my God, we need help, all this kind of stuff. But they cut the screen to black, which is a bit cheap. It's a little bit like, you know, it's a creative device, right? It's the kind of thing that you can do to like make something seem even worse than it actually was to cut to black. Just say, oh, we couldn't show it. The TV network wouldn't let us show it, kind of a thing. You're still not showing it though, are you? You know, you're still not showing it. You still, it felt a little bit like, do you remember when Rey Mysterio had his eye pulled out during that match with Seth Rollins? And we were trying to figure out, like, what are they going to do? How are they going to do it? And then they ended up using like a ping pong ball and all this kind of stuff. I actually thought it looked all right. I thought it looked all right in that regard. But that was kind of interesting because we were trying to figure out how they would do it. That's the kind of thing that I would expect them to go to black with as well. Like the moment it happens, it cuts to black. But actually, they did show us that one. They did show us Rey Mysterio's eye being out of its socket. Whereas like last night, we didn't do anything out of the ordinary, out of the box. We just cut to black. And so I was expecting a bit of backlash, some people to really like it. It seems like most people were on board with it. It seems like most people were like, oh man, that was, I don't know how you can say it was brutal because no one saw anything. So I don't think you can say it's brutal. But it's a really, really interesting one. It's a really interesting one. It's a bit like Miz fighting Invisible John Cena. You know, I could see some people enjoying it, some people cringing. I kind of felt that was going to be the same with last night's NXT. But to be perfectly truthful, it seems like most people were on board with it. So, yeah. And I saw some of the footage doing the rounds on social media. I mean, I've not done a video on it because you don't see anything. Even the footage of the people that were in the building, even their footage, which they're not meant to film, they're not supposed to film, right? I know that it's hard to stop people, but they really do try to clamp down on people not recording. You're told, you know, very clearly, no video footage. So there's this one video that I've seen that's come out, but the moment that he does it, it's blocked. You still can't see anything. The moment that he does it, you still can't see. So what you can see, though, what did get recorded was Von Wagner being wheeled out on a stretcher, and they had some blood coming through some bandages. So there was that. But I saw Von Wagner was like trending, so it was definitely a talking point. But yeah, maybe that would have been a good poll. Like, what did you think? Did you think it was good, or did you think it was cringe? Like, where did you fall on it? That might have been an interesting poll to have done. But I agree. I think NXT's doing some good stuff. I think they've got some good characters at the moment, got some good stories. I like the fact we're using big stars coming down to NXT. I always think that kind of meshing of worlds is quite exciting. Because you are, that's the big thing. That's one of the big reasons why you watch NXT, is because you're looking at the stars of tomorrow and you're thinking, man, I can't wait to see this person against such and such. Can't wait to see them come up and go against such and such. That's why call-ups are so exciting, because all of a sudden these people you've watched in developmental, they're going to be unleashed against the biggest names in wrestling. So to just get the odd name coming down, not flood it, but just the odd one every now and again. You know, we've had Dominic down there. Rhea's done a couple of bits. Now we've got Becky coming down. You know, Rhea hasn't faced everyone. She's mainly been working with Lyra Valkyria. Well, now we're bringing down Becky mainly to work with Tiffany Stratton. Dominic's obviously in the North American Championship department. He's kind of working with Mustafa Ali and Dragon Lee. So yeah, I don't mind it. It's not like I don't think they're getting in the way. I think that they're kind of helping the development. I mean, imagine if you was a young wrestler and Becky Lynch came down and you could just pick her brain and ask her, like, what's it like on the main roster? How did you find going from NXT to the main roster? How do you prepare for a WrestleMania? Are there any do's or don'ts? Are there any tips you can give me about surviving the locker room? What's the biggest no when you go up to the main roster? Like, all of these things that you can pick her brain about. I mean, it's invaluable. It's invaluable. So the argument of they're getting in the way of other developmental talents, I really struggle to subscribe to that. I mean, I've got to think that it's just a bigger help than hindrance. So, yeah, I agree. I think they're doing some good stuff. LS Dub said, I said this on Twitter, NXT are back to doing unprecedented and creative things like they were in their prime. I think they have a unique natural nature. Got there. Nature to their programming, which is much appreciated. LSW, please stop using such big words. I can't cope. Just go, NXT's good in it. Yeah, just do that next time. All this wordsy. What are you, Shakespeare? Jesus. Godfather's Ho said, Days striking up that strike force. Girls in Cars is perhaps the greatest song ever written for a tag team. Does Tony Khan cash in on Edge so he signs due to Punk situation? Always lifted. R.I.P. Slammies. Thank you. Thank you. I've no doubt that Tony Khan will approach Edge. I've no doubt he'll approach him with a big offer. And actually, he should do it anyway, even if he thinks he has no chance of getting Edge, because all he'll be doing, and these are the kind of games that actually we probably aren't that privy to. But if he went up to Edge and offered 10 million, right? Something like that, some mental number, which would be hard to justify, but Tony's got access to that kind of money. I genuinely don't know what WWE would do in response to trying to counter it. WWE have got money, but they've also got sense. And, you know, I mean, that kind of money is mental. And WWE would have a real tough decision there. If Tony went big, if he went really big, I'm not just talking about, you know, beating WWE's offers by, I don't know, 500,000, even 1 million, right? I'm talking about 3 million, 4 million, 5, just like really blowing their offer out of the water. Edge would have a decision to make, because as loyal as he has been to WWE, and as much as I've said I would not expect him to go to AEW, if Tony decided that he was now saving a lot of money on CM Punk, and that was money that he could reinvest in another big name, and he looks and identifies that that name that he wants is Edge. Like, I actually don't know how much CM Punk was earning. I don't know how much his wage was. I don't know if that was ever made public. But I would imagine it's a healthy number. How it compares to what Edge is earning in WWE right now, again, I don't know. So numbers-wise, I'm fumbling in the dark. I've got no data on that. I still think it very unlikely that Edge goes to AEW. I think that Edge is very loyal. I think that WWE will want to keep him around. I don't think Edge will go to AEW for Christian, because actually I have the counter argument of it's better for Christian if Edge isn't there, because Christian is standing on his own 2 feet. He's forging his own career, his own like way forward. He's got his own thing going on with Luchasaurus. If Edge arrives, well, what have you got then, Edge and Christian? And they're just going to be together, and Christian will be right back in the shadow of Edge, because he is. Let's be honest. He lives in Edge's shadow, right? He knows it as well. But he's good. He's really good, and he deserves to stand on his own 2 feet. So for me, Christian benefits more by Edge not being around. So I really don't think that Edge necessarily would go to AEW for Christian. They're close. They're great friends. They've known each other for years. They'll continue to know each other for years. They've worked with each other for years. I don't see that as a draw. I think if Edge was going to go to AEW, it would be because before he retires, he really wants to wrestle Kenny Omega. He really wants to wrestle MJF. He really wants to wrestle someone else that's there. So that would be the only reason why I think he would end up going, unless, as I said, the money is really stupid, really big. But WWE would then have a difficult decision as to whether they were going to counter that or not. My opinion hasn't changed. I don't expect Edge to go. I expect Edge to either retire or re-sign with WWE. Kojiko said, people think my comments are cryptic. They are not. You just have to think about it because they do make sense if you think about it and figure it out. So Kojiko firing back at all the haters saying that Kojiko makes no sense. You've got to really spend your time decoding and thinking about it. It's right there in front of your eyes. So Kojiko, shout out to you. I look forward to continuing to ignore your future comments. Charles said, Days, who do you think will be the next big signing for AEW? Well, I don't know if Mercedes Moné counts, but she'll be a big signing as to when she comes in. I honestly don't think there's loads of people that's out there. I mean, I don't know that they'll go and get Goldberg. I think they could get Goldberg, but I mean, I don't know that they're going to go and get Goldberg. As I said, don't think they'll get Edge. And then, like, you're looking at New Japan, aren't you, really? Like, could it be that someone comes out of New Japan? I mean, I can't say anyone that's coming out of Mexico is the next big signing, you know? Maybe they could go and get someone like Jordan Grace, although, did I hear she had re-signed with Impact? And plus also, would she be classed as a big signing? I mean, would she be classed as a big signing? You put Jordan Grace on Dynamite, it ain't moving the ratings. Like, if it is, it's moving it like, I don't know, 50,000, if that. Big signings to me are people that are going to really make a difference. And to be honest, there just ain't loads of them people out there, is there? There ain't loads of them people out there. There ain't loads of those people. This is why losing CM Punk is such a big thing. Because, like, you know, an Edge might move the numbers. Mercedes might move the numbers. Goldberg would move the numbers, I think, short term. But really, outside of that, who else is there? Who else is there? AJ Lee might move the numbers a little bit, but I feel like AJ Lee's impact would probably be similar to Soraya's impact. Like, it will definitely spike interest and get people talking, but it would soon settle back down again once people got familiar with her being around, you know? So I think she could have an impact, but I don't even think she's looking to return, to be honest. I don't think she's looking to come in. So it was certainly not now that CM Punk's gone. So this is why losing CM Punk was such a big hit, because those kind of real needle movers, they're just not there. So you've got to bring in some smaller names and really invest in them and build them up. And, you know, this is why we're seeing such investment in Statlander, Jade Cargill, MJF, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin. You know, these people, Britt Baker, these people have been invested in because they are having to make these stars. Because there isn't, if the alternatives were out there to just go and buy, Tony would have bought them. You know, as soon as Miro was available, bang. As soon as Aleister Black was available, bang. As soon as Danielson was there, bang. Like, as soon as you could go and get those names that have been in WWE, bang, he went and got them. But as we said, there's just not loads, is there? There's just not loads of people out there. But make Ospreay the champ, said Carlos. Mercedes won't sign full-time. She'll be one of those New Japan wrestlers that come and go, said WWE Liv Morgan fan. Carlos said Punk at Survivor Series is in Chicago. Jeremy said, could you see title versus title between Samoa Joe and MJF? Sure. Rumor is Megan Fox will be part of Mortal Kombat 1. Let's go. Having main roster stars on NXT has been a masterstroke, said excellence of execution. Domingo said Will Ospreay, also Del Fingo, also MJF or Kenny Omega could replace CM Punk, also Bandido. The Beach Kevin said AEW should try and get Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose would definitely move the needle. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, like, when she left, she was down in NXT. So if she was a big needle mover, wouldn't she have been moving the needle for NXT? Because NXT was around the kind of 600,000 mark. She was the champ for a long time. Don't know how much of a needle mover she would be, to be honest. Because you could say, yeah, Mandy Rose, like, she's gorgeous. The internet flipping loves her. Yeah, but that didn't show itself in the NXT ratings, did it? Didn't show itself in the NXT ratings. It's, I would argue, since she's been gone, the ratings have got better. But that's because we've gotten into, I think she went like December, if I remember correctly. I would say that the ratings have improved this year because I think that this year they've been looking at a TV deal. And so this year they've been bringing more main roster talent down to NXT. So we've been seeing, as we said, you know, like New Day earlier in the year. We've been seeing Rhea Ripley. We've been seeing Seth Rollins. We've been seeing, I think, Rey Mysterio, Judgment Day. Obviously, Becky coming down. Like, all of that for me is why we've been spiking the ratings. It's probably not sustainable, which is the concern. And ratings will just go back to kind of where they were eventually. Once the new TV deal is agreed, then ratings will just go back to where they were like last year. But yeah, I don't know. Mandy Rose is an interesting one because she is a name, and certainly wrestling fans are aware of her, and she has got a fan base, and she would have an impact on the ratings. But I don't. She ain't no CM Punk. She ain't anywhere near a CM Punk, is she? She ain't gonna. I think you could put her onto Dynamite. I think there would be an interest for a few weeks, and then I think it would just settle back down again, personally. Mitchell, shout out to you, buds. Really appreciate the support. Mitchell said, one more from me, and you don't have to keep doing this, Mitchell. But he said, I saw Meltzer say that they fired with cause in WWE has a 1-year non-compete clause. Hang on, we're struggling here. I saw Meltzer say the fired with cause in WWE has a 1-year non-compete clause. Obviously, there's different stuff, but maybe it's possible Punk can't compete anywhere for a while. I feel like I've seen someone get asked about if there was a non-compete clause in the contract, whatever, and I am under the impression there was not. I'm under the impression that I don't think there would be anything to stop him going somewhere if he so wanted and the other company wanted. But now I'm sitting here saying that out loud. I genuinely can't remember where I've seen it. So definitely do not quote me on that. That's one that I would have to try and find again. You know, when you're just watching like so much, and certainly with this CM Punk stuff, I've watched so much on it, different takes and whatever. It could have just been that someone was speculating, but that definitely rings a bell. That I don't think there is a non-compete clause. But that's interesting if you're saying that, according to Meltzer, if you are released with cause, then there is a 1-year non-compete clause that is in your contract. They must have to pay that, though. That must be that WWE pay that for a year. Like, legally, I can't. Yeah, I mean, like, legally, WWE can't stop someone working for a year. So, like, that must mean that that's mental. Hang on. So, like, what we're saying here is if Mustafa Ali, who wanted out at one point, right, if he had started a fight backstage and had got released with cause because, you know, we've had to release him because there's a reason for it, he would then not be allowed to work anywhere for a year, but he would still be getting paid to sit at home. And that doesn't seem to make sense to me. That doesn't seem to quite add up. Otherwise, think of all the unhappy people that could just be starting trouble and then just be getting like a paid year off. Because I seriously can't see any way that you can stop someone from earning a living for a year. I can't see how that's legal. I can't see how, if you are released from this company, you've got to sit at home and like you can't work for any other rival company and you won't be getting any money. I just can't see that. Although, you know, America is pretty mental at times. But I can't see that being a case. It must be that, like, you are still being paid, you know? Where did you see that? I'd like to watch that, Mitchell. I'd like to watch that. The non-compete clause in WWE is about 90 days, said Ellis Tubb. Yeah, I think what Mitchell's saying is that if you get released, or he's heard Meltzer say that if you get released by cause, so the non-compete in the budget cuts, so we've had to let you go because of budget cuts, like that one's the 90-day dealio. But if it's not budget cuts and it's because you've been a bad boy, right? Something LSW knows all about, then you would get potentially a 1 year non-compete clause. 1 year, not 90 days, 365-day non-compete clause, which I wouldn't even know that a non-compete clause of that size would be legal just anyway, to be honest. I would love to be hired with a 10 million contract, then make me stay at home with a non-compete, says William. WWE still pay salaries during non-competes, says Jeremy. Yeah, thank you. I'm sure they must do. Yeah, they must do. Like, you couldn't just sit at home for a year not earning money, could you? I mean, how is that in any realm would that be acceptable? So, yeah, that is mental. I will... Mitchell, if you've got a link, or if you saw it on YouTube, you know what the video's called, drop it in the chat, because I think that I'm not alone in saying a lot of us would like to check that out, would like to kind of see what was being said there. Travis said, I don't believe a word that Meltzer says. Do you know, I was saying this on the Wrestling Escape Pods, that I watched... I don't know if you've seen the video on YouTube, but it is the Eric Bischoff 83 Weeks podcast. And they did a whole episode on Punk being fired. It's really interesting. Really interesting. And he was saying about how, like, Meltzer, he's never trusted Meltzer. He knows that he lies, blah, 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 blah. It's really interesting to hear Eric Bischoff going in quite hard on Meltzer, saying he just, he's a, he said, I don't like to use the word cancer, but he is a cancer in the wrestling business, right? And he said, I shouldn't have said it. I don't like to use that word, blah, blah, blah. But, that's what he said. So Eric Bischoff famously can't stand him. Bruce Pritchard, who obviously is a high up in WWE, he was basically, for the longest time, Vince's right-hand man. He's right there in Gorilla now with Triple H. So, he is right there. He goes all the way back to like the late 80s. He's come and gone, of course, as I think many know. But he came back under Vince. Then when Vince left, he, I think, has been a great support to Triple H. He cannot stand Dave Meltzer because of the stuff that they see in The Observer just being complete nonsense, complete rubbish. So you're looking at, like, the guy that ran WCW just laying into Dave Meltzer. You're looking at the guy who's not second in control, but he's high up in WWE. He can't stand Dave Meltzer. And then Conrad Thompson, who was the host of that podcast, he said that he had a message from someone within AEW who said that they was aware as to what had happened. I don't know if they actually saw it, but they was, aware of what had happened backstage. And they said that, whatever it is that Meltzer's saying is complete garbage. It's complete nonsense. It could not be further from what actually went down. Meltzer's making out that, like, CM Punk, I think, did a lot worse than what has been reported already. Meltzer's saying that, like, the word lunging has been used, but actually it was worse than lunging. And I don't know what the truth is, right? I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Meltzer's making it up, he's a load of rubbish, blah, 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 blah. I actually think Meltzer has come good on a fair few things in the past. I think he does have some connections. I think he does have sources. I certainly don't think he just sits there and thinks, what shall I make up today? So I am actually, you know, I think that there are he's got some sort of insight, some sort of connection. But it's very interesting that he's kind of making out that they were being a bit soft on CM Punk. And he said that they should have gone harder with reporting what they had actually heard. But they've gone with the word lunging. They've sort of dampened it down a little. Not reported quite what they've been told. And what he's making out is that it was worse than what's been reported so far. And this person got in touch with Conrad Thompson and went, don't believe a single word that Meltzer's saying. So there is a lot of he said, she said, this happens, that happens, my side of the story, that side of the story, like you expect, you know? It's not like everyone's going to come out with the exact same version of events. I mean, there is a true version of events. And then there's everyone's interpretation of it. And you know what Chinese whispers are like. So people that weren't there are going, well, I heard this. Well, I heard that. Well, no, it weren't like that. I heard it was this. And then things just spiral and, you know, we end up where we end up. What we do know is that Tony Khan feared for his life. That can never be disputed. That can never be disputed. He feared for his life. So that there's not many things that we actually know that are concrete. That is definitely one that's concrete. And so we just have to kind of work from there, really. I would love a documentary on this one day. I would love to know. I would imagine in a way this is a bit like the Montreal Screwjob. Could you imagine if we were sat here in 1997 and we were talking about the Montreal Screwjob and we were trying to work out what had happened and we were like, well, Triple H is saying that he didn't know anything about it. He wasn't in the know. Yeah, but Sean must have known. Do you think the ref knew? Like, you know, I could see like all of that happening in 97 and we're just like slowly more information is coming out and God, that would have been amazing. That would have been amazing to have been around at that time. This sort of feels a little bit like that. Just a little bit. I mean, obviously nowhere near as big as the Montreal Screwjob, but still big though. I mean, it did lead to CM Punk losing his job in AEW. So this will certainly go down as a significant moment. Plus, it just happened to occur at the biggest wrestling show ever. I mean, oh my God. That's what Wembley will be remembered for, the end of CM Punk. CM Punk's final match in AEW and maybe his final match in wrestling. It's quite the way to go out, isn't it? At Wembley in front of 81,000 paying fans. That's quite the way to go. Yeah, it's wild, man. I would love, once we start to really get like some distance between this and like, you know, we go a year or two down the road, I'd love if we could get like the Dark Side of the Ring guys to get those that were involved to like sit down and do like interviews and like really let's figure this out, shall we? I wanna know exactly what happened. I mean, I would bet the Dark Side of the Ring guys are just licking their lips at the moment. They've got to know that this is the one that people want right now. This is the one that people are really desperate to see. But you're not going to get an interview with Tony Khan, are you? I can't see that happening. You might be able to get CM Punk because I think he'll want to make sure that his version of events gets out there. And you might be able to get a few other people that were around at the time. Like, I don't know. Depends if they're under AEW contracts in a year's time or whatever. If Samoa Joe, for example, isn't with AEW in a year, you might get his version of events. But I don't know that you'd ever get Tony's. But we know that Tony feared for his life, so we don't need his version of events. He wet himself. That's what happened. Tony Khan wet himself. That's what I've heard from my sources that definitely weren't there. But I heard he wet himself. Big Time Baxter said, I've tagged you in a tweet from Brandon Thurston 2 minutes ago about a collision breakdown for Punk and Let's Tony would be horrified by the final quarter. I saw news about the collision thing. So I've got a big disagreement with some of the news that's doing the rounds. They're saying that as soon as Tony Khan announced that CM Punk had been fired, 89,000 people tuned out of the show, right? I'm seeing a lot of people on social media going, oh my God, did you see Collision went from like 400 and something thousand to 300 and something thousand. They lost like nearly 90,000 as soon as Tony Khan said that CM Punk had been let go. Like that shows right there, like CM Punk is going to really affect the ratings, right? Now, I think he will affect the ratings, and I think this is a problem for AEW. But my counter argument is Tony Khan at the start of Collision could have come out and said, I love dogs. I've gone and bought a puppy. I've gone and bought a kitten, and I'm going to now show you a video of them playing together. And then he shows us a video, and then like it ends and we go into Collision, right? He could have not mentioned CM Punk at all. Nothing, not even anything to do with All In, right? Or the investigation. Just showing us a kitten and a puppy, right? And maybe he could have made a sandwich. He could have done a tutorial where he showed us how to make the perfect ham sandwich, right? All of that would have been wonderful. I would have tuned in. I would have stopped doing what I was doing. I would have tuned into Collision, right? For that. Of course I would. We all would, right? That still, at the end of that, would have lost 89,000. Do you know why? Because people tuned in at the start to see what was going to be said. People tuned in to see, right, what's the news? What's the situation? How are they opening the show? What's going down? What's the news? What's happening with Punk, right? And then as soon as they got that answer, they were gone. It weren't that Punk had gone. It could be that Tony Khan could have come on and gone, Punk's staying. I'm going to keep him around. I love him. In fact, we're in a relationship, right? That would have lost 89,000 because as soon as people found out what was happening with Punk, they had no plans to tune into Collision that week. They had no desire to be tuning into Collision. They only tuned in for that news at the start. That's the only reason that they tuned in. So whether it was Tony making a sandwich, Tony talking about kittens, Tony talking about how Punk's staying, Tony talking about Punk that's going, they still would have lost 89,000 at the end of all of those. So I disagree with this narrative that's doing the round at the moment that because Punk was announced as not being in AEW, then that's why they lost 89,000. My counter argument would be they were going to lose that 89,000, whatever was said. Whatever was said. People only tuned in to see what was going to be said. And I think we can all agree. I think the biggest takeaway from what I've just said is that Tony Khan really should have done a tutorial about how to make the perfect ham sandwich. That is what should have happened. But once again, Booker of the Year doesn't know how to book and instead comes out with some malarkey about fearing for his life, which is the gift that keeps on giving. In all fairness, that is the gift that keeps on giving. But yeah, I saw that the ratings declined, whatever. But I think that 89,000 were going whatever. Mitchell said, I DM'd you an article on X from what I could find. Okay. I will look into that after the stream. I would go through it now, but it's not going to be much fun me reading an article and trying to find the information that I'm looking for and all that kind of stuff. So I'll do it after, and I'm sure it can feature in a late. It's not like we don't stream all the flipping time, is it? So WWE Le Morgue fan said, imagine if all the fans had just left the arena and there was no one there for Collision. What would that mean for AEW? It would have been very quiet. That's what it would have meant for AEW. It would have been quiet. I mean, that, to be honest, that didn't happen because I was stunned at just how little support Punk was getting from the crowd in Chicago during All In. Like, there was no CM Punk chants apart from when the Bucks were out there. Like, I think that the CM Punk supporters are also fans of AEW. And so they, I think, want to watch the show and enjoy the show, and they've got other favorites. So they're not looking to, like, disrupt the show, but they did want to make their feelings known at some point, and they chose the Young Bucks match to do that. But I was surprised at how little disruption there was during that show. I really thought there was going to be a lot more disruption. I really thought there was going to be a lot more signs, chanting. I know they can take signs away, but they can't really shut chants down, can they? So, but there was none of it. There's none of it. I think those fans in Chicago were there to, you know, watch they'd paid their money, hard-earned money. They wanted to go and see the show. They had other superstars they were looking forward to watching. I think they're fans of the products. And, yeah, it just seemed to be during the Bucks match that they made their feelings known about CM Punk. Lee said, did you see that Meltzer said that he thinks Punk might have a 1-year non-compete clause? If that's true, do you think that can be enforced? Lee, I've not seen this news. It's something that Mitchell has mentioned earlier, and I mean, could it be enforced? If it's in the contract and that contract was signed, then, you know, that's going to be a legal case, isn't it? Where it's going to be hard for it to not be enforced, I would imagine. I find the whole non-compete thing to be crazy, to be honest. I mean, I do understand companies trying to protect themselves. I do understand companies, because the reason why that non-compete would be there is because you don't want to lose, say you've got Mustafa Ali, right? Who at times has been unhappy in WWE, and he wants out. He wants to leave WWE, right? He wants to go to AEW because they're going to pay him well. They're going to use him better. He's had his head turned, and so he wants to go there. The reason why you would put that 1-year non-compete in is because that is going to be there to prevent you from causing trouble. Because if you do cause trouble, you ain't going to AEW. You're going to be sat on a sofa at home, and you ain't going to be wrestling. And to be honest, out of sight, out of mind. You know, 12 months, it's a long time in the wrestling world. So it's obviously they would still have star power, but 12 months down the road, I don't know how big that star power is going to be, or if it's going to be as big. It depends what you was doing before you left and how big of a star you was when you left. So, you know, someone like Mustafa Ali going away for 12 months and then like coming back, I'd have to think that would hurt his star power. The counter, so I think it could be enforced. I think it could be, if it's in the contract, I think it's there for that reason, to stop it being so that it's abused. My counter argument, though, would be that if I'm really unhappy with WWE, I'm really just, this is just not, they're not using me right. I'm really not happy. What's stopping me causing trouble backstage so that I get fired and then I can just sit at home getting paid? I don't. What's stopping that? Apart from my character, and that's not the person I want to be, and that's not the man I want to be, and all that kind of stuff. What's stopping me from doing that? So if I'm Mustafa Ali again, if I'm really not enjoying my time in WWE, like, it's quite interesting that I could cause trouble backstage, get fired with cause, and then sit at home for a year getting paid. Getting paid. Don't know, it's wild, isn't it? Wild. I need to read more on it. Mitchell, I think, has just sent me something on it, so I'll have to read a bit more on it. Not something I was aware of, but I do find it very interesting. So could it be enforced? If it's in the contract, yes. I mean, that would be one for the courses, the legal courts to obviously get their teeth into. But I mean, if it can't be enforced, then why would you put it in the contract in the first place? And CM Punk signed that contract. William said, Days, I've emailed you a picture. I'm such a noob member. You've emailed me a picture. Do I want to look at it? I probably don't want to look at it. The ice blob I've just found in my tea. Okay, I don't know what this is. I know what it is. So this is William. He's just found some ice in his tea. In your tea? You must have iced tea. Either that or someone's gone drastically wrong. That's unfortunate, isn't it? That is definitely unfortunate. In many ways, actually. But enjoy that, buds. Enjoy that. That is... that's interesting. Bunker said, Punk just likes to be on the naughty step. Lee said, thanks. I still find it crazy that wrestling has non-compete clauses. Imagine one of us with a normal job gets sacked and then not allowed to work another job for months, says Lee. It is crazy. It is crazy. I do understand, though, but it's a different industry, isn't it? Because if you're a wrestler and you are working for a certain promotion, that promotion is building you up. They are investing in your brand. You know, if we work an office job or if we work in retail, we don't have a brand. We're not, you know, we're just a cog in the machine, really. So we don't have a brand. So with WWE, you know, their social media, it's building up, you know, Sasha, it's building up Edge, it's building up Roman, the videos, the interviews they arrange, you know, all the TV time that they give these people, like they invest in them. They are an investment. And so that investment, you don't want to see it, the star that they've been made. You know, I mean, think about Sasha when she first arrived in NXT compared to Sasha now, you know, Mercedes now. I mean, like WWE, yeah, of course she's done the work. No one's saying she hasn't done the work. But WWE were the ones that provided her with the platform. They gave her the WrestleManias to shine on. They gave her the TV shows to shine on. She shined, but WWE gave the platform for her to shine on. So her brand drastically changed from the girl, Mercedes Venado, I think her name is, that arrived in NXT that not many people had heard of. To Sasha Banks, who's headlining WrestleMania and whatever. So, you know, that investment, you have to protect it. And you don't want to see all that money and work that you've invested in these people going over to a rival company and benefit in a rival company. So the non-compete is there to make sure that you're just kind of kept out the way for a little while so that there can be a little bit of distance between, like, you don't want what happened with Lex Luger, you know, where he's appearing like on Nitro, you know, and just rocking up and no one knew, and it was like, oh my god, he was only on WWE TV the other day. Like, you wouldn't want it to be a case that like Sasha's on a pay-per-view for WWE on a Saturday, maybe Raw on a Monday, and then she rocks up at Dynamite on a Wednesday. What? So these non-competes are there to prevent that. But I agree, it is mental. I completely agree with you. It is crazy. I wouldn't even know how a 1 year non-compete is enforceable, but if it's in the contract, I mean, you know, and that kind of a thing can be dragged through the courts as well, can't it? So even if it's something that the courts decide is not enforceable, like the process of going through the courts is still going to take a long time. That ain't a quick thing. You ain't going to go through the courts in a week, are you? And get a judgment, whatever. So like that's going to be that's going to take a long time. That's going to be a long process. Man United Hodge said, happy 2 years. Big up yourself. Great content. Man United Hodge, really appreciate the support, man. Thank you so much for all the support. I am trying to do more with the members. We did a watch long last week. I've desperately tried to get my UFC research done tonight so that we can do another stream tomorrow. I think we will do a member stream tomorrow. I think I'm just going to do it as a stream, not a watch along or anything. Because we did a watch along last week, and I think, you know, there's been so much happening in wrestling. I think people will probably want their chance to, you know, get their say. And, you know, I mean, these streams can be quite busy. So sometimes I don't get a chance to go to everyone's comments, which I wish I could. But that's where the member streams kind of come in their own a bit more. It means we can like get to people's comments a little easier. So I think we will do that tomorrow. So Man United Hodge, I appreciate it, man. I really appreciate it. Kojiko said, oh God, here we go. Kojiko said, sipping on a good fish with a tulip. Just got my road paved with the gorgeous of ages clipped to the GZG, easy peasy to the wheezy, Luigi, Ouija boards. How do you pronounce that? Ouija board? I think it's Ouija, isn't it? Ouija. Let's go again. Let's go again. G's G, easy peasy, to the Wheezy Ouija, to the Zozo. The demon is coming for Snoop Dogg, to the Gok. And guys, remember, it's right there. A lot of you think that's cryptic. It's not. It's not. It's right there. Coach Co, appreciate the support, my friends. Appreciate the support. I feel like you need support as well, and I just want you to know that we're absolutely here for you. So, hey, chin up, yeah? Chin up. James said, did you see United's stock price crashed? Yeah, I was listening to TalkSport earlier, and I think Simon Jordan was talking quite a bit of sense. He said, like, it don't matter, you know? Like, what does it make? What does it matter? Because they had offers of like 5 billion and whatever. If they wanted to sell that club for 5 billion right now, they could pick up the phone to the Saudis and whatever and sell it for 5 billion, right? They're holding out for 6. The share price has crashed and it now values United at 3. But that doesn't mean that people are going to come in and just pay 3 now, because the Glazers just won't sell. The Glazers have been very clear about what it is that they want. They want 6 billion. They've been really close to that 6 billion, but because we've not had a sale, that now means that the price has crashed. But as Simon Jordan was saying, like, it's irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything. The club's, you know, seemingly the club's not for sale now anyway. And even if it was, they could easily get the 5 billion that they'd been offered again. It's just they're holding out seemingly for the 6. I also think the Glazers know that, you know, like football and the interest in football and maybe, dare I say, women's football is going to see like a growth. There might be some projections that the club actually should be valued more like 8, but they're not getting bids like that. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening with United. I don't know what's happening with the sale, but it certainly doesn't look good, does it? Doesn't look good. Southern Boy, shout out to you, said, I believe if Punk really did go back to WWE, he would only be there so Vince and Triple H could bury him once and for all. WWE Liv Morgan fan said, imagine if that led WWE versus AEW for Survivor Series team match and we get 3 World International Tag Team men and women titles going against each other and War Games. Big Time said 89 is really not that surprising. Every show does drop in that range. The surprising stat was WrestleNomics reported that the last 30 minutes did 276 and 244. That's interesting. I don't know though what it normally does. I mean, I don't watch the ratings as close as you do, to be perfectly truthful. So I could not tell you. I mean, I know roughly what the shows do as a rough ballpark on a weekly basis, but I could not tell you a 15-minute breakdown. I don't pay much attention to the 15-minute breakdown. So yeah, I don't know what that last 15 did. But I, you know, that sounds low, doesn't it? 244. That definitely sounds low. But you know, this is college football. This is going up against a WWE Premium Live event. Like, we knew it was going to be a struggle, and as we said, I think they knew it was going to be a struggle as well. They had to know it was going to be a struggle. But you know, at what point does the question get asked that TBS were better off having the movies rather than having Collision, you know? Because the numbers that I was shown that got, I think, Big Time sent them over, actually, showed that the average looked to be about 500,000 for the movies that were being shown. So if movies were doing 500,000 on a Saturday and Collision's doing 3-something, you know, I don't know. At what point does it become like a problem? At what point does it become an issue? I don't know, because I'm not in the room. I don't know what their expectation was. They had to know that this was going to be an issue because the AEW fan base is a fan base that I think does cross over with WWE, as much as they don't want to admit that they do. I think there are plenty that watch WWE as well, and that shows on a Saturday. Otherwise, why is the rating so low when they go up against a WWE Premium Live event? So I think there is plenty that watch both. And I think also there might be a bit of a crossover with UFC. I mean, don't forget AEW brought in some UFC stars. So that would suggest that even AEW believe that there is some degree of crossover, or that like people that watch AEW would also be interested in UFC. So, you know, their audience is very much being pulled in a lot of directions on a Saturday. And I know what that's like, because on a Saturday, I have to decide, are we doing UFC? Are we doing boxing? Is there a WWE show? Like, is Misfits on, the influencer boxing? Is that on? Are we doing KSI? Are we doing Jake Paul? Are we doing normal boxing? UFC, as we said, like, you have to make a decision on a Saturday as to what you think the right thing to do is. And so they would have been fully aware of the competition that they're going up against. And what's worse for AEW is, with a movie, you're not necessarily the same audience. Like, the people that sit down and watch a movie on a Saturday, they're not necessarily the same people that will tune into a WWE pay-per-view. They're not the same people that will tune into a UFC show. They're not the same people that will want to watch the boxing, right? That audience could be a completely different audience depending on the film, right? If you're going to show the Barbie movie, right, chances are that's probably not going to be the crowd that are also interested in the WWE show or in the UFC show or the boxing, or right. But AEW, that is the audience that I think does cross over with WWE, that does cross over with UFC. So it's hard, isn't it? It's difficult, but they had to know that. They had to know that was going to be the case. They had to have had some projections. I would love to know where we are against their projections. I think the harder thing is, how are they going to turn that around? Because you can put Danielson on a Saturday, but I don't think that will do it. You can put Mercedes on a Saturday, and I think that will spike it, but I don't know that will keep it and sustain it, you know? I do worry that slot is just too hard. It's just too hard. It just might never be able to get the traction that it needs. It's tricky. It's a tricky one. Tony is all over the breakdowns, more so than WWE. A lot of the stars presented on TV put in certain segments to hold an audience, says Big Time. What kind of disappointed me was when Tony kind of phrased his words like a Vince McMahon quote on Twitter, basically saying, I don't care what the fans think, I'll listen to what I think. Well, listen, the words of Tony were words of lawyers, right? The reason why that sounded the way it sounded was because it had come from lawyers, you know, talking about released with cause. And no one goes around talking like that. That's legal spiel. So, you know, the lawyers told him to say that stuff. Even him talking about fearing for his life. Why would you go on TV and say that, right? Why would you say that? Why would you go on TV and say, I feared for my life? Or, you know, I've never been to a wrestling show and felt my security in danger and my life in danger. Why would you say that? Well, the reason why you would say that is because you need to make it clear, like, if this goes to court, that you was in a situation where you was concerned for your life, your safety, your personal safety, right? And so if you go to court and say, I was concerned for my life, they may turn around and say, well, you didn't say that when you made the statement, the public statement. When you made the public statement saying why you released CM Punk, you never mentioned that you was fearful for your life. If you was really fearful for your life, would you not have mentioned that during your statement? And so I think the reason as to why that was mentioned was for that reason. So if this goes to courts, they can now argue that Tony was, whether it's true or not, don't know, but they can now argue that he was fearful for his life. And he even mentioned it on television. He even said it when he announced why CM Punk had been released. He said it was because he was fearful of his life, or that was one of the reasons. So now if it goes to court, that is absolutely in play. That is in play. He can use that in a courtroom. So a lot of what you heard was all legal spiel that came from lawyers. And so I don't know, like I wouldn't read too much into it. I mean, it's all if it goes to court and whatever. I mean, there's obviously some truth in there as well, you know. I think when he says that it's regrettable, I think he means it. I think when he says that he can't like allow like, you know, someone to like, you know, hurt his crew and his, you know, the people that work backstage, he's got responsibility to them. Like, he means that. Now, whether CM Punk was a threat to those people or not, we don't know. But yeah, I mean, like, I think there was still some truth that was in there. But oh, guys, it is fascinating. I mean, we've just spent pretty much an hour on it, and I feel like we could have done another hour quite comfortably. But we're not going to do that. We're going to go over to Dynamite. Yeah, by the way, I love the graph. Ah, we do. Only came out 17 minutes ago. Only came out 17 minutes ago. So if you are just joining us, it's Wednesday. You know what that means. We're in Indianapolis. So here is the graphic. Chris Statlander taking on Emi Sakura for the TBS Championship. John Moxley takes on AR Fox. Orange Cassidy is going to be speaking. MJF is going to be speaking. Aussie Open is taking on Jericho and Sammy Guevara. We're going to hear from we're hearing from a lot of people. Hearing from Hangman Page. We've also got Darby Allin against Nick Wayne, and we've got Trent Beretta versus Roderick Strong. So, not the most stat graphic, is it? There's a lot of promos tonight. 3 hearing froms. And looks like one of the hearing froms is opening the show as Orange Cassidy is making his way down to the ring. Orange Cassidy all banged up. Orange Cassidy jumping into the ring. So we're going to be hearing from Orange Cassidy. But I am talking about Tony thinks about his opinions about creative. Now, creative should be ran. That's what he tweeted. He thinks that it doesn't matter what people think. Oh, I've not seen that. Not seen him say that he doesn't care what people think. That could be a sign of him cracking up if he has tweeted that out. Can't imagine it's a great thing to say to the fans, I don't care what you think. Freshly squeezed chance. Freshly squeezed. Okay, so Orange Cassidy with a microphone in his hands. What are they chanting? Are they chanting, thank you, Orange? I think they're chanting, thank you, Orange. Goes to talk. The crowds continue to cheer. We knew Tony didn't care about the fans. He is a puppet to the unprofessional EVP, said Travis. Orange thanks the fans. Undercover manager said, bit of interest. In fact, Tottenham are the 3rd most profitable sports team in the world. List included Premiership, blah, 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 blah. Spurs are 3rd most profitable. That is interesting. I got to think that's probably down to their ground, which I think generates some good income for them. I'll be here every week. I am freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, and I do not have a catchphrase. So the crowd say, thank you, Orange. He thanks the fans. He says, I'll be here every week because I'm freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, and I do not have a catchphrase. Gerald, shout out to you. Said, why is Nick Wayne and Trent Beretta in a world title eliminator? I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. Here's Moxley. It's a good question. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I don't know why they're in a world title eliminator tournament. Here's John Moxley making his way down. We've got 3 pictures on screen. This is adventurous. We've got a camera on Orange Cassidy, a camera on John Moxley, and then footage of their encounter, their match on screen as well. We got like a picture-in-picture situation. So Orange Cassidy standing on the entrance ramp, staring at John Moxley. John Moxley getting into the ring. Orange Cassidy saying, I don't have a catchphrase. Is a catchphrase, says Jim. Alex said, Tottenham are 9th. Liverpool are 3rd behind Man United and Real Madrid. Man United are profitable. Are they? They, Man United have spent loads on like transfers in recent years. I know we get a lot of money coming in from sponsorships and everything, but I mean, we couldn't sign anyone. We've had to be scrambling around over the end of the window because we've had to make sure we stay within financial fair play. And we've got like 500 million in debt. I think we've paid like 900 million trying to service this debt. And, I don't know, it's funny, innit? On certain metrics, we might be like quite high up there, but on other metrics, I don't know. Certainly look at the money Chelsea have been spending in the transfer market. Doesn't feel like Man U can match that. When you think world champions, you think Nick Wayne and Trent Beretta. Let's go. Do you know, in many ways, we're not going to miss CM Punk because we can always do Nick Wayne versus Trent Beretta on Collision. Easy million. Easy million, mate. Moxley over in the corner. We are underway, so we are underway with Mox versus the Fox. I stole that from RJ City. He said it on the official preview, and I wanted to pass it off as my own. Sorry. Moxley on the outsides. James said, our transfers suck, apart from Casemiro and Eriksson, who we got for free. Yeah, and like the Anthony thing looks bad as well now, doesn't it? We're going to hear from MJF tonight. Godfather So said, my eyes are red as frizzy-haired Kane. I hope Hang throws in a Punk jab with a live mic. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? I think, in all fairness, if Jack Perry comes back, and I don't know what they're going to do in that regard, but if he does come back, can you imagine the first promo? How, like, interesting that'll be. Everyone will be reading into absolutely everything. Moxley, loud Moxley chants. Forearm strike by Moxley. We're backstage with Darby Allin and Nick Wayne. They'll be competing against each other. I wonder, this is not going to be a very popular thing to say, but do you think that they've kind of given up a little bit on this week? Maybe they're thinking, like, we'll go big for Grand Slam. And, you know, this week will just be whatever. Because I know Orange Cassidy is, like, good for ratings. Like, apparently so. He didn't really say anything there. And he wasn't in the ring all that long. And then we go into Moxley versus AR Fox. I mean, I don't know. Is this going to keep people around? Is this match, I don't know. Live crowd are enjoying it, though. They're certainly making plenty of noise as the action goes to the outside. Moxley is one of their bigger stars, in all fairness. Former AEW World Champion, so... AR Fox on the railing comes crashing down on Moxley. I saw people hyping up tonight's card. It looks fine, I guess. It's nothing that special, said LS Dub. I always appreciate the fact they tell us a lot of things that are happening. So definitely, you can look at it and go, yeah, it's pretty stacked tonight. We're going to hear from MJF. We're going to hear from such and such. I suppose in a way, I'm surprised we didn't open with the MJF thing. Open with MJF. I suppose, if you look at WWE, they've got a tried, tested format that works, which is you open with Roman and the Bloodline on SmackDown. It then leads to something that sets up your main event. And so that's what then keeps people around. Whereas here, we've had Orange Cassidy come out, not really say anything. And then we've just gone into this match, which I don't know that people are really that bothered about. I don't know. Weird. Do you think they'll ever go 3 hours Dynamite or to what Raw is, or a 3rd hour SmackDown? Oh yeah, I think so. I think wrestling actually does well on TV. I mean, if you compare wrestling to the fact that Dynamite is one of the top rated shows on a Wednesday, always on cable, tends to come out as being one of the top shows. So I don't know quite how that compares to the other shows from a budget point of view, how much you have to pay for AEW compared to how much you have to pay other cable shows, right? I mean, it could be that the cost of this is quite high compared to the other shows that are on cable on a Wednesday. But what I do know is that every time the ratings come out, it's always up there, number 1 of the night, number 2 of the night. That has to be a positive, right? That has to be a positive. If you're even if your ratings are rubbish, if you're still number 1 or number 2 across all of cable on a Wednesday night, I've got to think that that's a positive. So depending on if it can work from a budget and paying the money point of view, and I've got to think that option's there. I mean, they launched Dynamite and they were so happy with it out the gate that they immediately gave them an extra hour, which was Rampage. And then seemingly they've been so happy with the ratings still that now they've gone and got Collision. So we're not seeing hours being taken away. We're seeing hours being given. We're seeing more time being given to wrestling. So yeah, I think there's a good chance that we see a 3-hour Dynamite or a 3-hour SmackDown or a 2-hour Rampage, or I think the way that it feels like it's going is that more hours are coming into wrestling rather than being removed. AR Fox over in the corner, charging over at Moxley, collides into Moxley. Moxley grabs him. Rampage is in a wheelchair with heart disease. Oh. Sorry to hear that. That thing ain't sticking around. I see no buzz on Twitter about Rampage at all. How does Rampage stack up to everything else that's on cable on a Friday night? Because am I right in saying that they record that before Dynamite? So the cost of that, I've got to think, is really minimal, because that thing ain't costing. I mean, it's just getting recorded as part of this, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that there's a lack of buzz around Rampage. I don't disagree with that at all. But I wonder if it's still in the top 10. Cable is such a bad state. NXT could be number 1 when it's without head-to-head to sports. Back in 2020, it could never break the top 50 of cable. Really? That true? What so just 3 years ago it was struggling to kind of get in the conversation. Now we're saying it's right up there. What the hell happened to Cable? Elbows to the side of the head there by Moxley. Moxley going against the ropes. Inzaguri coming in by AR Fox. AR Fox against the ropes. Big clothesliners. AR Fox goes down. There's a sign in the front row that says Claudio sucks eggs. 1, 2, 3, and Moxley gets the win. Moxley. Rampage is top 10, but it's not very high, says Gerald's. Top 10's good, though, isn't it? Top 10's good. Okay, so Moxley. Victorious. I'm just having a look, seeing if we've got any interesting signs in the crowd. Any interesting t-shirts. And the answer's no. The answer is no. I'm looking for like CM Punk shirts actually as well. No CM Punk chants or anything starting off this show. I wonder if anyone would tune in wondering if there'll be like loud CM Punk chants or something. There hasn't been. Can't even see any CM Punk shirts. Darby Allin came down. Nick Wayne is backstage watching on the monitor. There's Christian and Luchasaurus. Christian asking Nick Wayne how he's feeling. I owe you an apology. Your dad was even worse than I thought. I went back and I watched your dad, and I'm sorry. It was even worse than I thought. Christian, mate, he is a very entertaining promo. Say hi to your mom from me. Well, I thought he was going to beat him up or do something, but he doesn't. He didn't do anything. But he's a good promo, Christian. Good promo. Okay, here we go. Chris Statlander. I do enjoy watching her. Chris Statlander making her way down to the ring. She's going to be taking on Emi Sakura. Spell it. Sakura. There we go. I like Statlander. Statlander holding up that TBS championship. William said, how can a vampire say they've lived for hundreds of years when in fact they're dead? They've been dead, but not accepting it for hundreds of years. Big Time said, you're right about the format of Dynamite. With WWE, they give you a reason to stay with the show. AEW, watch hour 1, you're covered. Christopher should have started with the MJF promo, then Samoa Joe comes out and leads to Summit later. That would make sense. That would make sense. Start with Summit hot and you go, okay, right, yeah, definitely want to see. I mean, I will admit, when Orange Cassidy came out, we haven't heard him speak much. So when he came out, I was thinking, okay, let's see what he's got to say. But the answer was not much. And then we pretty much went to the Moxley match. I think I would have started with MJF, and then done something with him and Samoa Joe, and led to something later. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Why are jobbers in title matches? Said Zoom Station. Why aren't more jobbers in title matches? That's my question. Undercover Manager said, what I like most about Wednesday night streams, the shows are so fast paced. Nothing is allowed to be processed before they move on, so we end up engaging more in the chat with Days, said Undercover Manager. Undercover Manager, shout out to you. I do feel like the NXT streams, and maybe I shouldn't feel this way, but I feel like the NXT streams and the AEW streams are more chilled streams than Raw and SmackDown. I mean, I think when you know that in America, 800,000 will watch this, 600,000 will watch on a Tuesday, you kind of know that they're not going to be the most bananas of watch-alongs. They're not going to be the most mental of streams. Whereas, 2.2 million watching on SmackDown, 1.8 watching on Raw. I didn't see Raw's ratings this week, actually. I don't know how many people watch Raw, but it felt like it was a good number. Felt like there was a fair few people joining us during the watch-along. So I would imagine it did well. Those streams definitely feel like, not as chilled. Let's put it that way, not as chilled. But I really do like the Tuesday, Wednesday kind of chilled vibe of it, I hope Statlander match will lead somewhere, and this isn't just insert women's match here, said Gerald's. The crowd thanked Orange, so he should just wrap it up and keep it moving, says Ray. CM Punk used to have fans. Now he has enemies, says Mr. Quake. David, shout out to you. James said, I'm struggling to believe the Anthony accusations. How can he abuse someone in Brazil while playing at Old Trafford at the same time it supposedly happens? Brazil have dropped him though, haven't they? Is this Emi Sakura's music? Oh, man, have you heard the new Rolling Stones track? I don't know what this Emi Sakura music is. She's coming out and it's like... like a darker theme for her, isn't it? But yeah, the Stones announced a new song called Angry. I was listening to it earlier. It's all right, man. It's all right. Considering they're like King of the Boomers, I was really not expecting much, but I was like, do you know what? This is all right, It's not like, it doesn't stack up with Give Me Shelter and Sympathy for the Devil and Jumpin' Jack Flash. But for a Rolling Stones 2023 track, you go, I could listen to this. And, I am listening to this, and I'm not crying. I'm not in tears at how bad it is. This is all right, Good video as well. I like the video. It would be cool if MJF had a new theme song, and it was Sympathy for the Devil. That would be cool. Didn't he have that once? Why do I feel like he did have that once? What's the difference between a vampire, a werewolf, and a jerpsy? I don't even know what a jerpsy is. Don't know what a jerpsy is. I hope these ladies put on a banger, said Mitchell. AEW shows the same 3 women. I've no idea who these women are. Statlander. I like Statlander. I don't really care for Emi Sakura. Both women are in the ring at the moment. I don't think Martin Scorsese has ever had a movie that didn't include Give Me Shelter, says Wrestle with Andy. Mick Jagger is a great grandfather, says Adam. That is crazy. I think he's like in his 80, isn't he, or something like this. Chopped by Statlander, and again throwing in these chops on Emi Sakura. Grabbing Sakura, back elbow. So it's quite hard hitting this, between these two. Hard hitting stuff right here. Coming up next, Aussie Open versus the Sex Gods. Big clothesline there by Emi Sakura. There's a sign that says, "Where's the meat?" These two both clotheslining each other. Both down in the ring. Statlander kind of rolling over to the rope. Sakura in the center of the ring. Statlander trying to get back up to her feet. She's on the edge of the ring. Sakura charges over. Shoulder tackle by Statlander. Sakura goes down. Statlander's going to look to go over the top rope, and she does. Elbow drop to the midsection. Statlander back up on her feet. She's grabbing Sakura. Goes against the ropes. Oh, no joy. Emmy with the hair. She's picked her up. Reversed. Back and forth. Oof. Sakura. Sakura picks up Statlander. She's going to plant her face first. She's holding it. Oh. Holy smokes. Tony Schiavone. Holy smokes. Oh, golly gosh. Sakura standing on the head of Statlander. Rivy, welcome back. Hello, Rivy. Did you see the picture of Von Wagner I did, Ray? Yes. On the stretcher. Is it that one? If there's a different one, I've not seen it. I've seen him being stretchered out. Discus lariat by Statlander. Trying to... ooh! And Statlander wins. She planted her with... I don't know what the move's called, but it's like a package pile driver type move. I think it's got a proper name, a Statlander name. TBS! TBS! Ah! Let's go. TBS. Undercover Manager said, have you ever analyzed the stream views as WWE, AEW, NXT viewing figures to see if you can gauge if a show is likely to get a good rating based on the views? Not massively. I mean, I know that on a Raw and SmackDown, we tend to get about 10,000 views in total. So if we're going to be getting above that, like 12, 13, that's good. That's a 20, 30% increase. So that would suggest to me that it was a more popular show. So if something's going to be like about 10,000, that's par. If it's going to be above that, then that would suggest to me that it's been a well-received episode. For NXT and AEW, I would say about 3.5 to 4. 4 would be decent. If it's got to 4, it's done well. If it does like 5, 5.5, something like that, then again the ratings have been like really good. So I think you can use it as a bit of a gauge. We just got a sit-down interview with Roderick Strong. I grew up alone. And I'm going to win this Grand Slam tournament alone. Okay. Here is Don Callis. Don Callis has made his way out and looks like he's just making his way over to the commentary table. Did you see Punk acknowledge his tribal chief on the way out of the arena at All In? He acknowledged him. Right, here is Les Sex Gods. Oh, it's Judas again. Even for the Les Sex Gods. Can't the Les Sex Gods have their own music? The Sex Gods versus Aussie Open. Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. Don Callis looks like Jeff Bezos, said Wrestling J. Here comes Mr. Sexual Harassment, Don Callis. Is that his nickname? I'd change that. Ring rats showing off their tiddies, said a racial mind. Okay, so both Jericho, Sammy Guevara have made their way down to the ring. People enjoying singing Judas. So Jericho in the ring then. Sammy with a smile on his face as Aussie Open make their way down. The United Empire Aussie Open. Coming off a win over Nick Wayne and Commander on last week's Collision. I mean, I would argue coming off a loss at All In is more notable. But, sure. Aussie Open getting in the ring. Days Tony on the media scrum revealed that CJ Perry isn't signed. Oh my God. We thought that they'd lost a CM and signed a CJ, but apparently not. It was a one-off appearance and reached out just for that angle. What angle? What angle? That she came down to the ring and then Miro looked at her and went like, and walked out the ring. Like, it definitely felt like there was more to that. She came down and Miro didn't look pleased about it. That's it. That's the one appearance you're going to use her for. I'm here, everyone. I'm here. And Miro's like, and that's it. It really felt to me like that was the start of a story and she was going to be backstage and Miro was going to be like, I didn't appreciate you coming down to the ring. I don't want you back in the business. And she's like, but you needed help. I wanted to be there for you. I was there for you before. I want to be there for you. I thought it was going to start something like that. If you're going to bring her in for one appearance, would you not have her come down and then Miro be really pleased to see her and embrace her and hold her arm in the air and the AEW fans cheer her and he gives her a kiss? Like, wouldn't you do that if you was going to bring her in for just one appearance? That's it. One shot. Instead, the poor woman's had to walk down to the ring and then she's been shunned by her husband. And that's it. Not allowed to appear anymore. That's wild. I didn't hear that. That's wild. I was fully expecting. I mean, I don't watch Collision, but I was fully expecting that to be a story that would continue. Mitchell said, what angle? Miro feared for his life and left. Oh, the best angle. The best. I would love it if Miro dressed as Tony Khan and CJ Perry dressed as CM Punk and then they recreated that. Miro fearing for his life, dressed as Tony Khan. If the Acclaimed actually did have any balls, they would do a rap about Tony Khan fearing for his life. Chop coming in there by, is this Fletcher? On Sammy Guevara. We're in the ring at the moment. Tag match underway. Les Sex Gods taking on Aussie Open. Ellis Stubbs said, did anyone else see Full Gear at the bottom of the screen? Way different graphics used for the theme of the show. Way different. I did not. That's what it was. A continuation of the last off-screen story. Meet forever. That is my favorite chant. C said they should capitalize on the meat angle. Start booking big versus big. Supreme Tie said it feels like they're naturally continuing a story from WWE. They build up to forgiveness, and when they are together, they will be even more over. Undercover Manager said that's the trouble. The fact Tony refers to CJ Perry showing up for one night is not a never will be angle. It's an appearance. Simple. What was pointless? Booker of the My Foot. Hang on, what? That's the trouble. The fact Tony refers to CJ Perry showing up for one night never will be an angle. It's just an appearance, which was pointless. Okay, I'm with you. Coach Co said, my fingers smell like finger cheese. Do you want to smell, Days? Yes, I do. I thought about it, and I do. I do want to smell. Unfortunately, it's never going to happen because of the restriction order. Shots coming in by Jericho unloading. We're going to hear from MJF. I'd imagine that'll take us from hour 1 into hour 2. Tag. In comes Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara in the ring. Stomp coming in there by Sammy. We're also going to hear from Hangman Adam Page tonight. Let's go, Sex Gods. I tell you what, they're loud tonight. I will definitely give them that. Let's go, Sex Gods chants. Sammy charging over, gets dumped on the outside of the ring. Forearm strike there by Sammy. Scooping him up. Slamming him down. Ah! Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Days, what's your favorite WWE wrestler? Your favorite AEW wrestler? David, shout out to you, buds. Favorite WWE wrestler? Like right now. I'm guessing you mean right now. My favorite WWE wrestler right now is... It's either Sammy or Gunter. I can't decide. See, the problem is Gunter has the best matches, but there's not really much story there. He's got the IC title. He just defends it. There's not really much more to it than that. I mean, I still don't really know what's going on with him and Imperium. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes he's shouting at them. Sometimes he's not. Sometimes he's having matches on his own. Like, I don't know. Like, there's not... The creative around Gunther, it's a strong character, but we haven't really done much. So I look at like Sammy in the Bloodline, and that's gold standard, of course it is. But Sammy in the Bloodline and everything that Sammy was doing with the Usi moment and him making Jay crack up and the turn at the Rumble and Elimination Chamber, winning the tag titles at WrestleMania, like all of that. But that's stopped, innit? That's stopped now. I mean, maybe we can get somewhere now he's lost the tag titles. So it's difficult. Both are kind of... I really like them both. Both have got slight issues with creative at the moment, I would say. So it makes it hard. If I had to just pick one... If I had to pick one to watch for the next 12 months, I would go... Aussie Open... colliding into Sammy and Jericho. So yeah, I would say I would go with Gunter, but no, Sammy over Gunter to watch for the next 12 months. In regards to AEW, I will go... I really like Jamie Hayter, but she's not around at the moment. I like Danielson. Probably Danielson. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. I like Ricky Starks, but I would still definitely watch Danielson. I like FTR. They would be in the running, but I still think it would be Danielson. So Danielson in AEW and Sammy in WWE. Feel free to put your thoughts, though, in the chat. Mitchell said, for AEW, I'd go MJF or Danielson. Christopher says, Gunther and MJF for me, but shout out to LA Knights. Sammy goes over the top, corkscrew plancher. Comes crashing down on Aussie Open. Just one. Cody and MJF, no difference, says Gerald's. Everyone is on the ring and the ref was just standing there, said Travis. Mitchell said AJ for me in WWE, but you already know that. I already knew that. Big Time said the Jey Uso new music has the lyric, it's just me, Us, playing every 10 seconds and nothing but beats. Godfather's host said Days still very blazed. Who was the best ring announcer of all time? Howard Finkel. Male, the Fink. Female, Jillian Garcia. Remember when Mark Henry wanted to bone that R.I.P. Marco stunt? Thank you. Thank you, my friends. Howard Finkel's the GOAT. Cover. 1, 2. Oh, Jericho with a shoulder up. Jericho gets that shoulder blade up, baby. Okay, so what's that sign say? Bluey, Bingo and Bluey. Bingo and Bluey are better than Aussie Open. Okay, Jericho over the other side. Sammy comes in and Spanish Fly by Sammy. Big boot there by Jericho. Round the back. Jericho. He's trying to get the walls in. No joy. Jericho goes down. Super kick coming in. Jericho goes back into the corner. Aussie Open are so good. They're so quick. Fletcher with Jericho. Brainbuster. 1, 2. And kick out again by Jericho. Aussie Open looking good in this match. Shots coming in there by Fletcher. I've got a great idea for a Thursday or a Sunday night stream that would be fun and also engaging. To put in suggestions for the show, I will email you and want to work with you on it. Yeah, feel free to email me. Chad said, Gable Stevenson pulled out of... Well, no. Gable Stevenson pulled out of the World Championships. I wonder if he'll focus solely on WWE. Well, his one match didn't go very well, did it? The crowd made their feelings very well known. Victory for Le Sex Gods. Where's the meat? There was a little mishap. Sammy is sad. Jericho grabbing Sammy's arm. He tries to raise it, but Sammy's not happy. Been a few incidents of friendly fire. Sammy's sad. Super sad Guevara. Sammy pushes Jericho. Jericho comes over. Oh. Jericho pushing Sammy. Sammy pushing Jericho. The Sex Gods are not on the same page at the moment. Sammy gets out the ring and walks away. Don Callis said they're both a pair of ego maniacs. Mid-air sloppy sign. I don't know what that means. Jericho in the ring. Sammy has walked off. Jericho, disappointed. I agree. The match was bad. I think NXT is in the right place for him to work on things. Oh, his match was bad. Stevenson, you're not. Angle, you're not. Dan Gable either, said Leon. Gerald said, Jericho hit Sammy 3 times inadvertently in the match. Jericho, why are you mad? Just seeing some footage from All Out on Sunday. Not a bad show, you know. Not a bad show. We're seeing Stark and Danielson. So good having Nigel McGuinness on the call for this match. I think it really, really helped. Obviously, such a great rivalry back in the day between him and Danielson. And I really enjoyed this match. I really enjoyed it. Starks deserves better sign. All I want is a chance. This is a good video package, man, from Starks. I'm everything I say I am. Starks, man, putting in the work. Putting in the work. That's a really good promo from Ricky Starks. Just like saying, when's it going to be my time? So Danielson's going to speak on Collision. How long we got? We got 13 minutes. I think MJF takes us from hour 1 into hour 2, so I don't know if we're going to have a little match or some at first. They're just showing the little push that Samoa Joe gave to MJF. Nigel McGuinness has always been my favorite Ring of Honor World Champion. 30 plus title defenses in a row, says Leon. MJF speaks live next. Right? Doesn't it? Wow, commercial break. Well, there we go. Samoa Joe is gold, said Rivy. But I think Joe is my favorite guy in AEW right now, said The Beach Kevin. Sonny, hello. Hello, my book is getting reviewed and will be up on Amazon in 2 days or less. Sonny, shout out to you. Sonny's got a book coming out. Sonny, do you want to just tell people what it's about? Let people know. Let people know. What's your book about? Poetry book, isn't it? Yeah, really good promo that. I really like that from Starks. I wish, I believe he's on Collision, isn't he? I wish he was on Dynamite. I could really get behind Starks. Really like him. I really liked his match as well. On All Out. Danielson, unfortunately not speaking tonight. He is also on Collision. So, I keep saying it. I'm fairly confident Collision is the show that I would enjoy the most. I think like all the people that I'm really interested in seeing tend to be on Collision, like Starks and Danielson and FTR. CM Punk obviously was on there as well. But there's still some decent stuff on Dynamite as well. It's not like we don't have anything decent on Dynamite. I like Statlander. My book is a poetry book. I came up with it in high school. There's 84 pages of poetry. That's a lot of poetry. What happened to NXT Underground, said Big Time Baxter. I just think it's a match type that they'll just go to whenever they need. So I don't think it was like a regular segment. I just think it's a bit like the Fight Pit match. So if we need a match type like NXT Underground, we can use it. I mean, we may not see it again this year, but might not see it ever again. But it's something I think we could go back to, next year at some point if we need to do that kind of a match. I just think it's a Fight Pit. Big Time said, I don't know why, but when Hobbs looked at her after the chair shot, I was getting Bobby BBC memories on Raw. Ellis Dub said they have a main eventer with Starks. He's ready when they want him to be. When they give him a full course meal, like he said, he is real and relatable. David said, I like Darby Allin. He's an amazing AEW superstar. He's my favorite superstar. Said, which is worse? Getting TV time on Dynamite once a month to a larger audience, or getting more TV time on Collision to a smaller audience? What is worse? Once large audience is worse. Because if you are on every week on Collision, yeah, you're seen by less, but you'll be all over social media every week. Okay, we're backstage with Takeshita. Motix said Kojiko needs to make a book. Imagine that. Okay, so there's a painting that was going to be revealed by Renee. They're going to announce their next target, apparently. Here's MJF. Yeah, Motix. Sure. A Kojiko book would certainly be something. It would be something. Here is MJF 2 belts. The first dual AEW World and Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion. Better than you, baby. You can get a button-up dress shirt. Okay, MJF in the ring. He's at Scumbag sign. MJF chants. The devil has arrived. Big cheer by the fans. When I was trying to make a name for myself, I lived right here in Indiana. Not everyone is meant to be or has the ability to be a world champ. That's why there's mid-level titles. Younger, less established talent have something to fight for and build a resume. So he says, as you know, we successfully defended our Ring of Honor tag champs. September 20th is Grand Slam. MJF is coming back to New York. So he's going to be at Grand Slam. Arthur Ashe Stadium. No one's on the level of the devil. Joe chance. So it looks like we're building to MJF against Samoa Joe. Is this Joe coming out? Joe coming out. I'd love Joe to beat MJF, to be honest. Look at Joe. Look at the size of him. He's just a bad man with a real swagger in him. I could get behind an AEW World Champion Samoa Joe. But I think he's just going to be fed to MJF. I think it's just going to be a credible opponent for like MJF to beat. And maybe long term, it's probably right to get behind MJF and can keep his reign going. But I feel like if these two were to have a match, to have a fight, like Joe wins. Samoa Joe in the ring. So Joe's come out. He said he wanted to get a front row seat. I'm out here. You're out here. What's the problem? I'm out here. You're out here. What's the problem? Kid. You must have confused my entrance music for an ice cream truck. I'm out here because of genuine concern. Samoa Joe can talk as well. MJF Joe would be a good match, says Davids. Heel MJF would have said something about fearing for his life by now. I do miss heel MJF. I'm a pretty creative guy myself. Who wants to hear MJF get a little creative? MJF's the best heel in the business, said Wrestling Jay. Pillsbury Joe boy. Samoa Joe. I don't even understand that last one. Samoa Joe, just smash him, man. Just smash him. What did he just say about, like, you? Was it like? MJF got some good moments, but most of the time I'm not that into him, said J-Love. Joe, as if Joe hasn't heard all the fat jokes before, said Heather. That's better. Call me kid one more time. I'll knock your teeth down your throat. MJF and Joe get face to face. That's how you want me to react, isn't it? There's a whole tournament if you want to wrestle the champ. F you, Joe. A lot of you are sounding like your mothers right now. Point of phrase. Who's ready for story time with MJF? I don't know about that one. Don't let HBK hear that one. It's easy for Joe. He just stays in character. Keith Lee is not who he is. They need to let him cook. Samoa Joe should lounge at Maxwell Jacob Freeman. Lunge. So MJF mentions William Regal, but he gags. He said he would have signed me, but I was too young. He effed up chance as MJF tells the William Regal story. I knocked his British ass out. To NXT where he belongs. And if you play your cards right, you're next. You're next. Okay, so he's talking about how he was going to be a security guard for Joe. But what did the great Samoa Joe do? You shoved me into a brick wall and you laughed. Should have shoved him harder. I know why you did that. I know how scumbags think. It's an interesting spin on the security guard reference, said Gerald. Joe probably wants to go. Joe probably wants to go back to NXT. I'm definitely here for Samoa Joe against MJF. I'm here to see this match. I'm not a kid anymore, says MJF. I'm a generational talent. Okay, so MJF gets fired up, said he's not a kid anymore. Samoa Joe looks out at the crowds. Stay out of my way. Stay out of my way or I will kill you, MJF says to Samoa Joe. MJF will be fearing for his life. Joe should have beaten Punk at All In, and it could have been title versus title instead, said to heel. Ooh. My name is Maxwell Jacob Freedom. I'm better than you, and you know it. Okay, let's see what Joe's going to respond with. When I shoved you into that wall, I didn't think you was a kid. I thought you was a little... B words. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not saying it. Do you think is the best wrestler in AEW, MJF or Daniel Bryan? Daniel, it's not even close, mate. Daniel Bryan. Bryan Danielson. I won't take your bait, said Joe. I'll go through that tournament. Have a nice day. So, Joe said he's going to enter the tournament. MJF goes to go out the ring and Joe attacks him. Joe holds up that AEW championship. Low blow by MJF. MJF biting Samoa Joe. Kicks coming in by MJF. This is great. I can't wait to see the promos that these two cook up and the match they put together. They set up an excellent foundation. They've sold me on the match. It's fantastic stuff. MJF in the corner. Samoa Joe looking for a muscle buster, but Adam Cole comes down and he drives Samoa Joe out the ring. Samoa Joe going up the entranceway. Stone Cold Stomp. The MJF slap was weaker than a Stephanie McMahon slap. I need this. F the tournament, Tony. Just give Joe the match. Well, I mean, it's got to lead to Joe winning that tournament anyway, hasn't it? So, Samoa Joe is in the entranceway. I like his shirt. Dang it, Cole. You took long enough, says Heather. He did take his time, didn't he? Do you remember Joe never did lose the NXT title? Oh, no, I don't remember. Was it stripped off him, was it? MJF says, my left arm is numb. Joe is the next opponent. They both can work and talk, but we've seen Joe already and he's old and out of shape, says Carlos. I sure hope the tournament slots aren't filled already. It doesn't mean anything. I don't think that was needed by Joe. Joe said, I'll tear you to pieces when you get in front of me, and then uses the B word again. Sort of feel like Joe had already made his statement. He can spray paint an X on the belt because it would be redundant. MJF fears for his life when Samoa Joe had him in a chokehold. MJF being helped up the entranceway. We won it again during the Thunderdome era and had to then vacate it when he left WWE, says WrestleLandy. Is this now Roderick Strong? Roderick Strong just shouting at him. Oh, here we go. So we've got Roderick Strong making his way down to the ring. So Adam Cole's like, look, MJF is not okay. And Roderick Strong's like, I'm not okay. He's still got his neck in a neck brace. So Roderick Strong is... there's belts everywhere. There's microphones on the ground. I think we're going into our next match. The AEW World Championship down on the ground. That's not MJF's fault. He's just been obviously helped to the back. So Trent Beretta, Roderick Strong coming up next. Roderick Strong is a pain in the neck. Do you get it? Said Hales Gaming. Got it. Halftime scores. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Halftime scores, everybody, it's the halftime scores. I really want to know your halftime scores. Put it in the chat. Halftime scores, everybody, it's the halftime scores. Are you happy? It's the halftime scores. Are you happy or you sad? Halftime scores, everybody, it's the halftime scores. I should get that recorded. If I got it recorded, I could just press play then. Just sit here like this.
Okay, there we go. So 6.9 said Mike, solid 7. That segment redeemed my score, says Heather. Can't Stop, Won't Stop said 6. Zoom Station said 6. David said 6. Roddy is acting like he's lost a lifelong partner, said James. David said I'm at a 6. Gerald said 6, but Cole MJF segment saved it. Let Him In says 6. DJ Poison says 10. Mitchell said 625. I enjoyed the Joe segment. El Sean said 7. Q the Light Knight said 8.6. Greg says 8. J Love said 6. LS Dub said 7. It was a great tag match. 6 for 1 Minute Wrestler. 7.5 from AB Jobson. 1 out of 10 from Travis. Big Time Baxter says 6. MJF segment saved it. AK said 575. Hut says 5. Starks, Joe, MJF has been the show. Notorious Nightmare said 7. Legend Killer said 6.5. Jordan said 6.79. Adam said 6.5. Dean said 8. Chad said 7. WWE Liv Morgan fan says 8.6. Legend Killer with a 6.5. Shakeem says 4. Schmacker Frog said 5. Christopher MJF said 3 out of 5. MJF Joe segment has been the best thing so far. Leon said 6, mid out of 10. Carlos said halftime score is a 0. Smurfy Toon said 6. A Roy Gaming says 5. Legend Killer said 6.5. Anthony with a 10. Dean with an 8.7. Tal Hart said, did you see Von Wagner shoot her in that spot? No. Scott's 6. I don't know that he was shoot her. I know there was blood on the step, but that's not necessarily like real. Like we could easily have just had some fake bloods that we kind of put on the step, or you know, that could have, because when he was on the stretcher there was blood coming through the bandages, but again that might not be legit. Like it could just be for like effect. So I don't know, unless there is like a report that comes out that he was legitimately hurt. Not sure I'm totally buying the blood that was on the bandages. Face Coaster said over that segment between MJF and Joe, I hope they fight at Grand Slam and Wrestle Dream 2. I don't understand how WWE lets Joe go twice. That man is one of the best on the mic and in ring. Well, I mean, to be honest, WWE are looking towards the future. They're looking for people that are younger, and I think people that have a bit more of a reliable kind of medical record. Samoa Joe's still don't know, and I don't know if he's ever spoke about it, but do we know why he was kept out the ring in 2000? Do you remember he was on commentary during the performance kind of center, you know, when we were doing like COVID and we were in the performance center? Joe was on commentary, and I don't know why, because apparently there was some sort of injury that was keeping him out ring, but I don't think I ever found out what that injury was. I don't think I ever really found out why he wasn't being used in ring. But I think the injuries just sort of built up. I think that they were looking towards younger talent. I think it was just a case that, you know, they decided that they would rather save the money that... Got him on the brain. Rather save the money that they were spending on him rather than keep spending it on someone that might pick up another injury. I think Vince has got something about guys that carry a bit of timber as well, you know? If you've got weight like that, I think Vince doesn't really appreciate it. Vince has always been into the bodybuilder types. So I think the size of Samoa Joe was also a problem, to be truthful. Trent Beretta grabbing at the leg of Roderick Strong. Front face lock being applied. All that matters is that NXT will be a 9 next week, said Hawkins Jr. Dean said, do they use fake blood in wrestling? Yes. Schmacko Frog says, remember, he messed up his back when he threw himself down a set of stairs in TNA back in the day. I didn't watch TNA, so I don't know, to be honest. Roderick Strong is down, rolls over to the ropes. Trent coming over, grabbing Roddy. How long have we got left? We've got about 40 minutes left to go. 40 minutes left to go. They've just said that we've got... What have we still got to come, actually? We have got... I don't know if I know. Can I find the... Nope. I can't remember where I've put the graphic. Is it that one? It's that one. There we go. So, Chris Statlander against Emi Sakura, we've had that. John Moxley against AR Fox, we've had that. Orange Cassidy, we've heard from him. MJF, we've heard from him. Hangman Page, we've still got to hear from him. And we've got Darby versus Nick Wayne. So, Darby versus Nick Wayne. And we'll be hearing from Hangman Adam Page. Hangman Adam Page won that Battle Royal, didn't he? He won the Battle Royal. So I don't know quite what he's going to be talking to us about. We know that the money was donated to some Chicago charity. So I don't know. Is he going to tell us what's next for him, maybe? Roderick Strong's on the outside of the ring. Trent's in the ring. Roderick Strong on the outside as Trent comes round. Roddy pushes Trent into the ring post. And Trent goes down on the outside. Roderick grabbing Trent, looking to pick him up and slam him onto the edge of the ring. So Trent slammed onto the edge of the ring, goes down to the outside. We've got picture in picture. Referee is on the outside. He's getting back in to restart the counts. Chop coming in there by Roderick Strong as Trent Beretta goes down. But didn't you watch any TNA? Nope. Nick Wayne main event in, said Gerald's. I think so. There's no other matches that have been announced. AB Jobson said, who do you think faces Saraya for the AEW Women's Championship? Toni Storm would be my guess, because she was in the Outcasts. She's doing a little thing where she's seemingly out the Outcast. She cost Ruby the other day. So I'm thinking they might build up a bit of a feud there. Picture in picture. Yeah, we are in picture in picture. Gets the ropes. Big knee to the midsection there by Roderick Strong. Still to come hearing from Hangman. Adam Page. Stomped there by Roderick. Again, grabbing the head of Trent. Pulling back. Darby Allin, Nick Wayne. Grand Slam World Title Eliminator. Roderick Strong has got Trent over by the ropes. Going to look to slingshot him into the bottom rope, and he does. The high tension steel cable, a.k.a. the ring rope. That's what Excalibur just said. High tension steel cable, also known as the ring rope. Roderick Strong showing off the guns. He's got a hell of a tan, isn't he? Roderick Strong, man. It's been out in the sun. Looks a bit burnt. Shot coming in there by Trent. Chop coming in by Trent as well. Knee to the midsection. Roddy planting Trent down. 1, 2, kick out. No one touched Bret Hart when he beat up Vince, but Hunter wasn't his son-in-law yet. He just watched, said J-Love. The Modern Family Guy is in every commercial. Okay, I don't know if we're back from commercial break yet. Adam said Rhea Ripley defends the women's title this Friday in India versus Natalia. Why is that not on the network? Why is that not on the network? I really want to see. It would cost them nothing to show that. I suppose the argument is, would they make any money? Like, what benefit is there from them showing us that Indian show? What benefit is there? Because they've already got paid from Peacock. This is the problem. This is where the Peacock deal hurts us. If that was still the network and they weren't getting money off Peacock, they would probably show us that show. Just like they showed us Beast in the East back in, 2015? When Brock Lesnar kind of went over to Japan and we got the Beast in the East show. We would probably be getting that Indian show, but because they've already got their money from Peacock, they don't need to, come up with extra content. There's no real benefit to that for them. If anything, it would cost them more money to record it and put it up and everything. But that sucks, because I'd really like to watch it. So who did you say? She's defending on Friday, is she? Who's she defending against, Rhea Ripley? Against Natalia. Oh, that's all right. I can afford to miss that. Changed my mind. And Raquel. What a triple threat. Trip threat. It's on the 22nd anniversary of the September 11th attacks. So she's defending against Raquel and Natalia in a triple threat. What is that card? Who's competing on that Superstar Spectacle, is it? India. 2023. Is there a card? Just says some of the stars that are going to be there, but it doesn't actually give me a card. Shot coming in by Trent. Match card. That's what I want. Match card. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn against Indashir. Rhea Ripley versus Natalia. It just lists only Natalia. John Cena and Seth Rollins versus Imperium. John Cena and Seth versus Imperium. To Trent. Oh, kick out by Roderick Strong. Step up enziguri by Trent. Roderick goes back against the ropes. Trent grabs him, drops him on his head. Yeah, I don't know if there's been any other matches announced, but apparently Bron Breakker has been announced, or at least advertised for that show. 1, 2, foot on the rope. Foot on the rope by Roderick Strong. Foot on the rope. WWE should hire Natalia as a trainer or producer. They like to keep her around, but just don't use her. I'm sure. Wow, I'm sure that offer's probably been. Maybe it's been made. I think they would. I could see her like being training down at the performance center if she wants to, or even being a producer for the women's matches. She could maybe go into like a producing role. Depends what she wants to do. I would be surprised if they let her go. Knee strike coming in. Roderick Strong picks up. Oh, double knees. Roddy, 2, 3. Roddy progresses. Trent Beretta eliminated. Trent Beretta is not going to win this title tournament. They're putting the neck brace back on. So there we go. Darby versus Nick has got so much storyline potential. Darby could get jealous if Nick wins. And Darby was on bad terms with Nick's bad terms with his dad when he passes. I feel a Darby heel turn. I think that's what he needs, says Switchblades. Nick Wayne, Darby, Roderick Strong, and Joe so far. Unless Joe's side of the bracket is loaded, it's pretty much Joe, Darby, and everyone else, said Gerald. Ellis Stubbs said the ring ropes are hard. They weren't soft when I ran the ropes at my training school. Here's Tony. What was going through your head? There's so many performances that I do. I like that from Tony. We mustn't look backwards. We must look forwards. Renee. You're so nosy, Renee. Poke, poke, pokey, poke. Next week will be an exclusive sneaky peek into Tits Out and Watch for the Shoe. Oh. Tits Out and Watch for the Shoe. So she popped her tits out, not literally, and then threw a shoe. I can get behind this Tony Storm character. I could get behind this Tony Storm character. Don't quite know what she's going to come out with, and I find her quite intriguing, you know. Find her quite intriguing. I hope she's really given this some thoughts. I hope she's not just playing it on the fly. I hope she's really like fleshed it out and thought of some stuff. Because if she has, like, and I'm sure she has sat down and really, you know, thought about it. I mean, it's all based on like old Hollywood. She's got an English accent there, so I'm guessing it's like old Hollywood English actress type stuff. You could really research that and really flesh it out, you know? I reckon you could do some really good stuff with that. I love Crazy Tony, said Hagen Daz. That could be interesting. Gerald said, Tony is crazy, and I do love her for it. Mitchell said, I know it couldn't happen, but this Tony character and Chelsea as a tag team would be amazing. I would like to see... Well, I would like to see more of both. Yeah, I really like Chelsea. I am a fan of character work. I think that comes from, you know, the era I grew up watching wrestling when it was just all characters. Obviously now you just get a lot of bland people being them bland selves. So like seeing Tony do this gimmick, this character, I like it. It really stands out. And same with Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea's got that kind of Karen character, you know. So like that stands out as well. I do enjoy both, actually. Yeah, I do enjoy both. I think there is a real comparison you can make between the two. Yeah, good. I like it. I like it. Tony is doing her best work ever, said C. A lot of Roderick Strong. My first thought was, what have they done to Tony? But nothing else she was doing was working. This at least is intriguing, and it'll have people curious to see where it goes. Tony is a theater babe. She's doing Madonna circa 2010, says her. Is that who you think she's basing it on, Madonna? I like the over-the-top crazy limit gimmick. AB said, lots of great wrestling today. Sheik Adnan. Fans remember him as General Adnan. What, did he pass away today? General Adnan passed away today. I didn't hear that news. That's a shame. I mean, to be honest, I didn't know he was still alive, but that's a shame. I enjoyed the WrestleMania 7 builds and everything. I mean, when you're a kid, you know, a lot of people said it was, you know, insensitive, shouldn't have been done, all that kind of stuff. I can understand that now I'm an adult, but as a kid, you don't think about that, you know. Here's Hangman. Hangman is in the ring with Tony. Talking about how Hangman won the over-the-budget Battle Royal. Guaranteed, Hangman will say something about Punk. Booked a flight. I won the Battle Royal. Gave 50,000 to the Chicago public. He's thanking the teachers. You are underpaid and underappreciated. We wanted to look forward. Okay, so Swerve is coming out. Why's Prince? Prince Nana dancing away. Here's Swerve. I sort of feel like there should be like some fairly attractive women that come out and do this, not Prince Nana. So I like Swerve. I like Swerve. So Swerve getting into the ring. Hangman in the ring. Hangman wanted to talk about what was next. I think Swerve's about to tell him. Done enough, Tony. You've done enough, Tony. Show some respect for Swerve Strickland. Swerve in the ring. Being in a coffin for nearly 2 weeks, you get a bit of clarity. First person I thought of when I got out was you. Why? Charity. You're doing charity now. You're doing charity for a load of juvenile delinquents that aren't going to become anything anyway. I see you don't. That's a good line. I see you haven't got any shame for yourself, so I'll have some shame for you. So he's not coming out to challenge him. He's coming out, I think, to try and work with him. I like this from Swerve. Do you know why I like this from Swerve? Because he was in that coffin. And he's thought to himself, how do I get to that next level? And he's figured, I need to get with someone that's been there and done it. And so I think he's trying to get with Hangman here. So he's trying to convince him that he's lost. He needs some help. You haven't had any new merch in nearly a year. You've been eating good because of your contract extension, but it has been showing. Fat shaming. In 2023, what? You've got comfortable. So I'm just getting a little bit lost there, and someone in the crowd went, "You don't even know what to say." If I'd have got the opportunities that you got a year ago, I would have been the first black AEW world champion by now, says Swerve. Oh, could you imagine Swerve as AEW world champion? I could get behind that. I don't know if I need Prince Nana. Show me. Show these people. Show yourself. He's trying to fire him up here. Cowboy shiz. The unprofessional EVPs won't allow Swerve to be champ, said Travis. I've got no regard for anyone. If you choose to do this with me, I'll walk you like a dog. What's he proposing, though? I missed the proposal. I'm coming for that spot that you act like you don't even want. Hangman gets a bit upset and storms out the ring. It's a shame your wife and kids have got to watch their father walk away from moral responsibilities. Wow. Doesn't look like they're on the same page, does it now? Hangman turns around, goes back. Brian Cage. Didn't need Brian Cage. Didn't need Brian Cage. Didn't need any of this. Do you know what? I really thought that was going to build towards them trying to get onto the same page. Obviously, they wouldn't be a tag team or anything for very long, but maybe they could just watch each other's backs and like try and help each other. But obviously, Swerve would be doing it with heel intentions, and it's not gone that way. Instead, I don't actually quite know what Swerve was trying to get to. Didn't need Brian Cage getting involved. I think watching Swerve talk to Hangman there, and certainly talk about being the first Black World Champion, you sort of look at him and you think, well, his entrance music's cool. The way he walks to the ring is cool. He stands there. He looks cool. Could you see like the belt over his shoulder? I absolutely could. I really like his matches. Hey, all right, he got a little bit lost at a few moments there during his promo, but by and large, he can cut a promo. And then you bring out someone like Brian Cage to just do a real cheap attack from behind, and you just go, oh, God. This is why he's stuck in the mid-card. Because something will happen during his segment that will just make it feel like a mid-card segment. Yeah, I like Swerve. I hope we do get behind him. Swerve is a future champ, said Dean. Hope so. They never should have let Swerve go, said to heel. I agree with that. Heather said it looks like that void that Punk left has been filled. Swerve is a top-level heel now. Mitchell said, didn't need Brian Cage in that one. I was down for that. Ellis Dub, shout out to you. Wrestlers need to come out in their gear, no street clothes, said Hales. Oblong Box said a black AEW champ. That won't happen on Tony Khan's watch. I don't know. I can accuse Tony Khan of a lot of things. I don't know that he's holding back like black wrestlers or anything. I don't know about that. It would be, I mean, this isn't why they should do it at all. They should do it because I think he will be a good champion. But, I mean, WWE got themselves into that position, didn't they? Where people were asking the question of, you know, where's the black world champion? And that's partly why Kofi Mania was as big as what it was. I mean, people wanted it for Kofi, but it felt bigger than just Kofi. AEW would be wise to make sure that that doesn't, you know, become a thing, an issue. So they are going to need to make sure there is a black champion, but just to be crystal clear, they certainly shouldn't do it just to tick a box. Swerve strikes me as someone that is good enough to be a world champion if you get behind him and build him up. And I really hope they get behind him and build him up. Here is our main event then. We've got, 16 minutes to go. It's Darby versus Nick Wayne. Main eventing? Yeah, I agree. Wild main event. Curious, what's the reason for not doing Premier League streams? The reason for not doing Premier League streams is because we did a whole season of Premier League streams. And it became apparent that, you know, I mean, people enjoyed joining us for them. But if we was ever going to attract more people and we were ever going to actually grow that side of it, then you have to do it all the time. Yeah, it got, I did a whole season of it, and it became apparent that if we were going to do it and we were going to grow and it was going to be successful and it was going to be worth continuing, we was going to have to stop the wrestling, because we would have to do videos talking about the latest news, transfer news, analyzing games, previewing the weekend's games, like just doing the watch-alongs on a Saturday or whenever the games were being played. That was not going to be enough, because you're competing against, other channels that only do football. I mean, it makes sense, like when you think about it. And it was something I was aware of when I went into it, that very much could be the case. But I was interested to see kind of how many people would join us and what the interest would be. And it was good. Genuinely, it was good. But it was not sustainable. Because, it was a case of watching the games in the day, watching the wrestling at night, and fitting sleep in just whenever I could, And it was difficult. And then when you see, after a few months that it's not really going anywhere, it's not really growing, you just go, yeah, okay. This isn't the right way forward. So I'd much rather just focus on the wrestling and, keep trying to do reviews and recaps and the live streams and the shorts and, just keep trying to grow that. So we are underway with Darby versus Nick Wayne. Michael, shout out to you. Good evening, my friend. Appreciate the support. Hope you are well this evening. What happened to Sting, said Wrestling J. He was at All In. I think we've kind of got to the point where they don't use him all the time with Darby now. Darby, oh man, suicide dives. There should be a rule that only Darby Allin is allowed to do them, because no one does them like him. He shows up everyone else's suicide dives. He just went really hard into that railing. Just checking on Darby. Hopefully he's going to be okay. I believe that he is okay. Darby chants by the crowds. What have AEW done with Bearcat Lee, a.k.a. Keith Lee? Haven't really done much with Keith Lee. Haven't done much with him at all. I really enjoyed him with Swerve. I mean, that's a little while ago now, though. Was it last year? Was it last year or the year before? I thought that was a great tag team. And then Keith got it in his head that he wanted to stand out. Fine. And he decided that he was going to let his grey hair just go like natural. He wasn't going to dye it. He was just going to leave it. And he was kind of lean into that and maybe use that as part of a gimmick. I don't mind that, to be honest. I mean, I don't think it worked, but I can understand the thought process. I can understand where he's coming from. Like, he wants to stand out, be different, maybe come across as like the wise man of wrestling or something like this, I can sort of see his point. For me, it didn't work. I don't think it looked good. It certainly generated, I think, more ridicule than support. And so I think that, I don't think it was just that, but, because he wasn't really getting momentum, I think AEW was struggling to like invest in him. I think he abandoned that now. I don't think he keeps the grey hair anymore. I think he has gone back to dyeing it again. But yeah, we just don't have anything for him seemingly at the moment. So it's tricky. I mean, like, it's hard because you've got to take a chance and put someone on TV, and then hopefully they catch attention, and then, their YouTube video gets some good views, and then all of a sudden you've got a reason to start investing in them. But you could make the argument that right now there's Keith Lee's not really given much of a reason to invest in him. There's not really anything, merch sales or video views or internet searches. There might not be anything for Keith Lee. But it's hard. It's a vicious circle because, of course, there isn't because he's not on TV. So, but unfortunately, he's found himself in that situation now where he's off TV. So he's not getting any kind of engagement, which just means that AEW have got to take a chance now at using him, putting him in a storyline and hoping that it catches fire and it works, which is hard when you've got people like MJF, Adam Cole, you know, other people that are bringing in views, ratings, engagement, web searches, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, I mean, look, it happens all the time to different people. Like AEW have got to take that gamble, take that risk. I like Keith Lee. I like him a lot, but I don't know. I really don't know what the future looks like for him. I don't see him being like AEW World Champion. Never got the Swerve and Lee match, said Gerald. Maybe we could do that. It'd be a bit weird trying to go back to that feud now, but you know, there is a history there. Do you silence the Bianca Super Chat sing-along during the UFC streams? People may not get it. Do you silence the Bianca? No, not that I'm aware of. Honestly, not that I'm aware of. I may have done. Only because, like, if it interrupts during a fight, I think if it interrupts during like a wrestling stream, it's not really a problem, you know. If it was to interrupt during a match, it's not like we're doing like running commentary for all the matches all the time, but we do running commentary for the UFC fights all the time. With UFC, we tend to dial more into the commentary because a lot of UFC shows tend to be you have to pay for them. And certainly like this weekend, for example, you have to pay for that. So there'll be plenty of people that aren't watching it that just want to keep up with what's happening. Look at the stats that are on screen and hear about the action. It's sort of a different stream to the wrestling streams. I feel like these streams, a lot of people that join us are watching the action and just joining in with the conversations going wherever, you know. So if that gets interrupted by some sort of super chat thing, then I don't think it's really as much of a problem. But I don't think they're around at all now, to be honest. I don't think I've purposely turned them off or anything, but we don't even get it on this one, do we? When a super chat comes in. So I don't think they're around at all. But if they don't hit during UFC, it would probably be more to do with them interrupting like the action, the calling of the action. These match continuing. Darby is back in the ring. Both guys are down. We got 7 minutes to go. Dean said, I like what NXT is doing with the Heritage Cup tournament. Could AEW follow it with an international championship? Yeah, there's nothing stopping them doing that. Jono said, I just watched Cody on Dale Jr. download some unheard Dusty stories, but lots of good memories. I don't know what that is. Over the other side, Nick Wayne. Darby shouting at Nick Wayne. Shot coming in there by Nick Wayne. Darby goes over, grabs a microphone. You hit like an 18-year-old. Hit me like you really want to win this. Nick Wayne with a forearm. Darby putting his arms behind his back. Super kick there by Nick Wayne. 2. That was good by Nick Wayne. Coming out is one of the worst human beings ever. Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, making their way out. Picture in picture. Is this overrunning? Is this overrunning? Why is Christian Cage coming out and going picture in picture if there's only 5 minutes left of the show? Nick Wayne goes over the top, comes down on Darby. What other two wrestlers from WWE and AEW would you pull a Rock Cena and book at the main event of WrestleMania, says Kashawn. Two wrestlers to book as a main event of WrestleMania? Well, I mean, you could take Danielson. You could take Kenny Omega. I think you could take Kenny. Yeah, I would probably take. I feel like we've done Danielson, although it'd be easy with Danielson because WWE fans know him, don't they? They don't really know Kenny Omega. So if you wanted easy, you could just take Danielson, and it would just be the return of Daniel Bryan. So you could do Daniel Bryan against Roman Reigns. That's an easy WrestleMania main event. In fact, we sort of got it. WrestleMania 37 was Roman, Daniel, and Edge. So that would be the easiest way forward. Coach Co said, what if life is a hallucination caused by breathing oxygen? And that is why when you stop breathing it, your life ends. Think about that. What if life is a hallucination caused by breathing oxygen? And that is why when you stop breathing it, your life ends. Think about that. That is deep. Upcut by Nick Wayne. Dale Jr. Download is a podcast for NASCAR. Dale Jr. is a racing Hall of Famer whose dad was the GOAT and was killed in a wreck. He is NASCAR's version of Cody. Jono, shout out to you. Appreciate the information. I don't know anything about NASCAR. I think I could get into NASCAR. I know people are just like, oh, they only drive around in circles, but I don't know. Clearly, there's something more to it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have so many fans. Don't mind a bit of motor racing. I used to watch a bit of Formula One. Don't really watch it so much now. I like Lewis Hamilton winning all the time was a bit. And then now Verstappen's winning all the time. Like, I think sometimes like you want a bit of variety, you know. So maybe I could get into NASCAR. I mean, I'm not going to, but, you know. Head scissors to the outside by Nick Wayne. Got a couple of minutes to go. The crowds for NASCAR events beat everything, said For Beach Kevin. It is a lot of left turns. They have road races too, do they? I thought they only did the round in the circle thing. They have road races in NASCAR. I did not know that. Didn't know that. I just thought it was different loops in different cities. Oh my God, I don't even know what that was. What was that? Nick Wayne came crashing down onto Darby Allin. Nick Wayne goes up. Oh, beautiful cutter to kick out by Darby. Yeah, Nick Wayne went to the outside and, don't know. Oh, we're going to see a replay here. Was it like double knees that he was going for? He sort of went for what looked to be a bit of a frog splash, but I think it was more a stomp in the end. Nick Wayne going over, grabbing Darby. Love the glasses. I got glasses as well. I'm nearsighted. My phone was a bit blurry and everything is clear now. Yeah, I mean, I've always needed glasses. I've never worn, well, since the channel started, I've always wore contacts. But the other day I was doing a stream, I think it was the Raw stream, and the one just came out. And honestly, my eyes just been a little sore since then. So just made sense to kind of rest them a little bit. I'm sure they'll thank me for it. So yeah, good. I'm glad you got your eyes sorted, Sonny. Your eyes are important. That was a horrible splash, said Travis. Just a one count. Are we going into overrun here or something? He landed on his feet and then splashed. I had a pit pass once in Phoenix, and it was a blast, said A.B. Jobson. Yeah, I could believe it. I could believe it. Against the ropes goes Nick Wayne. I went to Florida, as people know, and Nick Wayne kicks out. And I went to City... No, is it City Walk? Yeah, City Walk. The thing that connects Universal with Islands of Adventure. They used to have a NASCAR restaurant there. I went in there and they had like cars on the outside and like a car on the inside and all that stuff. We ended up having like a drink, I think a snack in there as well. And they had NASCAR on TV. I was quite happy with that. I was quite happy watching that. I felt, you know, quite comfortable. I felt like I could have had a good time there. I didn't have a flip what, like, you know, what I was looking at or what the rules were, but. Darby has picked up the win. Bill, shout out to you, my friends. I unfortunately don't speak Japanese or Chinese, but I'm going to agree, Bill. I'm going to agree. So Roderick Strong against Darby is the semi-final on Saturday. Samoa Joe is going to be taking on Jeff Hardy on Rampage. Samoa Joe, Jeff Hardy on Rampage. Penta is taking on Jay Lethal on Rampage as well. So Darby against Roderick Strong, that is one of the semi-finals. We know that it's going to be Jeff Hardy and Samoa Joe. The winner of that is going to face either Penta or Jay Lethal. Christian giving the championship a big kiss. Darby goes over to Nick Wayne, and that is that for Dynamite, baby. That is that for Dynamite. This show wasn't that good. I'm giving it a 6, said WWE AEW fan. Heather said, of course, Darby wins. Like I said, Christian presence makes it an 8. Thruk said, my father was a cat racer. A cat racer. Are you sure, Tharuka? Used to race cats. Is that true? Just loads of cats in a row. Racing lots of felines. Let's go. LB said, I love Swerve's promo tonight. Greg with an 8. J Man says 6. Travis says 3. Mitchell said, I'm at a 6. The Joe segment was the best. Brandon said it's been a crazy year. J Man said 6. Zoom Station said 6. Funko Pop Asylum said 6. Juan said, you wore glasses before. Never seen it until last week. Didn't know last week. No, I don't know that I've wore glasses before, to be honest. I mean, I remember having them on for when Bray passed away, because that was on a Thursday. I've worn them on a Thursday. I've worn them during member streams before. But I remember, like, when Bray passed away, it was a day where I wasn't wearing my contacts. You have to have a day a week, really, where you rest your eyes. You shouldn't really be wearing contacts every single day. And I actually got told by my optician that there's a little vein in the back of your eye. There's lots. But there's a vein in the back of the eye that needs, like, oxygen. And it wasn't getting enough. And it had actually swelled a little, this vein. And apparently it had swelled to, like, 1 millimeter. And if it gets to 2 millimeters, you can't wear contacts anymore. Like, it becomes dangerous. Because that, if it keeps swelling, it could eventually pop. And that is going to be a big problem. Like, that is a major problem. So they're like, it's not a mass. It's something we need to be aware of. Like, we need to be aware of it, but it's not something you need to be worrying about. You can still wear contacts, but you've got to be resting your eyes. So, yeah. Don't mess around with your eyes, kids. Coach Co said 5 ticklish fish out of Daisy 10. WWE Liv Morgan fan said it's okay. I'll rate it 7. Scott said 6.5. Have you ever had a girlfriend? Have I ever had a girlfriend? I have. Of course, I'm a player, mate. What are you on about? Good on you, Days, for taking care of your vision. Heather, shout out to you. My doctor won't let me wear contacts, said Zoom Station. AB said, Tony announced Bullet Club Gold will be in action on Saturday. Legend Killer, shout out to you. Appreciate the kind words, dudes. Funko Pop Asylum, shout out to you. Steve said 2 out of 10 beside the MJF Samoa Joe. That show sucks. Yeah, I saw Mitchell just asking like what I would give it. For me personally, I'd be about a 5. I think like the Orange Cassidy promo, there wasn't really much to it. The first match with Moxley, I just wasn't bothered. Moxley against AR Fox, it didn't do it for me. Jericho and Sammy against Aussie Open, I don't really know what that was for or what that was achieving. It was just sort of there. I mean, it had some moments. So I'll say like the few moments in that match were all right. There was definitely moments during Samoa Joe and MJF. I don't think I was as crazy about it as others, to be honest. I do like Samoa Joe. I gotta be honest, I'm gonna say something that people will not like, but I find MJF at times to just be I look at Swerve, who's like this big guy who's quite tall and he looks legit. And I look at like Samoa Joe, who's like coming down like a bad man, you know, and he's like, oh man, Joe. Then I look at MJF and he's on the smaller side. And it's not a problem to be a smaller wrestler. But like, you know, he just comes out with like Samoa Joe and all that kind of stuff. And it's like Samoa Joe's calling him a kid. And you go, yeah, that sort of makes sense. He does come across that way. Like he's just like a sniveling little, and that's his character, obviously. But this is why I think him as a face just doesn't quite land for me. Because to me, MJF is that sniveling little that's trying to get one up on, you know, he's trying to get one over on people. And I don't know, this face version of him doesn't do it for me. I know there's people that like it, but it doesn't do it for me. I find that he talks with confidence. He's loud. He makes a lot of noise. But I find that I'm just not... I ain't crazy about MJF as other people. I like Samoa Joe. I'd like to see Joe as champ. I like Swerve. I'd like to see Swerve as champ. But there's no denying the people are with MJF. They really love the story with Adam Cole. So, yeah, you know. People are really into that, but it's I don't know. I'm not like totally down on it. Like when MJF comes out, it's like, okay, you know you're gonna see and hear something. You're gonna hear something outrageous or whatever, but sometimes what he says are just like really cheap insults that aren't witty. There's not, do you know what I mean? There's not really anything to them. Sometimes though, when he delivers the line the way he delivers it, it's good enough to make people go, ooh. I mean, if a 5-year-old called Samoa Joe Samoa Doe, I don't think people in the crowd would be like, oh my God, this kid is a genius. this kid is a promo genius. But MJF does it, and like people wet themselves because he's very good with his delivery and setting it up and going there and like whatever, talks with confidence and blah, 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 blah. And he's always, I mean, what I will say about him is like the story about the security guard stuff, you know, you captivate him. Like, you know, talking about like how Joe treated him and all that kind of stuff. But as I'm listening to MJF and he's going off about that sort of stuff, Joe will respond in like 1/10 of the amount of time that MJF has been talking. And he'll just bang, like say something and you go, oh. I find that like Joe gets to the point quicker than MJF's always had that problem. He's always spoken for so long, doesn't get to the point quick enough. I really think they say to need you to fill 20 minutes. And so he goes, yeah, I can do that. So he goes out and he's like, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you, I used to be round here. I used to live round here. When I was trying to make it, I lived round here. Are you ready for story time? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for that? The devil... No one's on the level of the devil. Like blah 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 blah. Fill time, fill time, fill time. So I think that he gets. I think I feel a bit sorry for him because I think that they do say to him, "Go out there and fill that time." And so he goes out, and for me, there's a degree of waffleage with MJF. And then I hear like Samoa Joe respond in like 1/10 of the time, and bang, just come out with something that's for me equally as good in a much shorter, sharper delivery, you know. But of course, if MJF was to do that, the segment would last all of 2 minutes. And then that would be it. So I think they say to him, go out there and just, you know, you're a great talker. You got great delivery, and all of that is true. The fans love you. All of that is true. Get us, you know, from hour 1 into hour 2. So, yeah, I mean, look, there was some good stuff in that promo exchange between him and Joe. And it definitely made me want to watch that match. I wanted to see that match. And that's the whole point of a promo. So I'm certainly not laying into it or anything like this. But I know I'm not as into MJF as other people. I definitely see things about MJF that I don't find to be, you know, godlike and all this kind of stuff. I think that he's a great talker. I think that he's given a very difficult role, which, as I said, I think is to kill a lot of time. I'd love for him to like cut out the waffle. I find it hard to kind of root behind someone that is that sniveling little, you know, people are really into him and they're supporting him and all this, but I don't know, man, as soon as you hit Joe's music and he makes his way down and he looks like a grown man and he looks like he's going to mess you up. I mean, as I said, you telling me a real fight between Samoa Joe and MJF, like MJF stands a chance. Like Samoa Joe's going to wipe his backside with MJF. So this is what makes their match interesting, because I'm going in with that mentality. And to me, I really expect it to be a case that Samoa Joe should just destroy MJF. I don't think he'll do that because MJF's too valuable to AEW because of how he talks, because of his promo and everything. So I think that they will try and find a way of, you know, ref being distracted, MJF using the ring. They'll bring in some storyline, of course, where Adam Cole is saying, like, no, don't use the ring, don't cheat to win, or something like this, blah, 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 blah. MJF cheats to win anyway, and then Adam Cole's like, you shouldn't have done that. Like, they'll bring in some sort of story where, I don't know, Joe will get screwed and blah, 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 blah. But that doesn't make me like MJF, because that I look at MJF and I just think like, well, yeah, okay, you've still got the belt, but if this was a proper fair fight, like that man there, that dude, he would rip your head off. He would rip your head off. So I do look at people like Joe. I do look at people like Swerve. Do look at people like that, and I'm like, yeah, man, they feel more like a world champion to me than MJF. MJF serves a very important role, and he's right to be champion because he gets the biggest ratings. But I'm just talking about personal preference. Personal preference would be I'd want to go with Joe. I'd want to go with Swerve. So yeah, I'm probably not as crazy about that segment as other people, but it did still have its moments, and it was still a highlight of the show. I really liked Swerve's promo. He got a little bit lost at one point in there. But as I said, like when his music hits and the way that he just like strolls down to the ring, he just looks cool. I look at Swerve and I just think, oh man, you're cool. You're cool. I could get behind you as a champ, like as you as the face of the company, you as the guy that's like taking this company to a, you know, forward. He's cool. I like Swerve a lot. So I enjoyed his back and forth with Hangman. Nick Wayne and Darby, I mean, I don't think there was much doubt as to which way that was going to go. I think a lot of the in-ring just felt a bit inconsequential this week. So, yeah, I'm probably down in like the 5s. I wouldn't go lower. I don't think this was an epic disaster, but I think that this lacked really anything of significance. I mean, probably the thing people will talk about the most is MJF and Samoa Joe. But really, you know, there's been weeks where we've had big segment, big development, surprises, you know, all this kind of stuff, you know. This felt like it was a long way from that. And, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't feel like this was a normal Dynamite. I feel like this felt a little bit to me like there was illnesses. and that there was people that were missing, and like I don't know where like Saraya was or Ruby, or we didn't have Kenny Omega, we didn't have the Young Bucks. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it felt like there was people missing from this show. I felt like there wasn't really many people around. It could just be a bit of a trick of the mind, to be honest. It might be because of Collision. It might be that in my mind, I'm still very much like, you know, everything used to happen on Dynamite, didn't it? And obviously now, like Danielson, we would have heard from Danielson following his great match with Stark. We might have heard, like, we haven't seen Stark. We're not going to see Danielson. They're obviously over on Collision. We're not going to hear from FTR. They're over on Collision. So there is like a chunk of people that are missing because they're over on Collision. But then that means that if you are only dealing with half the roster, where if you have a week where there's no Bucks, no Kenny, then it, you know, obviously there's no CM Punk as well. I mean, think about that. This is a show with no Punk, no Kenny, no Bucks, no Saraya. Like, there is a good chunk of people missing here. I know Sting doesn't matter, but Sting wasn't around. Let me have a look, actually. Where are we? If we have a look at AEW All In, we have a look at All In. Let me just go down the. Have a look and see who was absent. Adam Cole was there. No, I'm going to jot these down because I feel like the point I'm making is valid. So there was no Acclaimed. There was no House of Black. And I don't know who's on Collision and who's on Dynamite, right? But there was no Acclaimed. There was no House of Black. There was obviously no Will Ospreay, but you wouldn't really expect that. There was no Sting. We did get Swerve. We did get Christian. There was no Britt Baker. So we didn't get Britt Baker. No Saraya. There was no Hikaru Shida, who's just been women's champion. I mean, I would argue no Britt Baker was big, right? Toni Storm was there, but she was just backstage. There was no Eddie Kingston. There was no Penta. There was no Ortiz. Did we have Wheeler Yuta? I mean, Claudio was on the outside with John Moxley. I think Wheeler Yuta might have been there. So I'll say he was. There was no FTR. There was no Young Bucks. And I don't think the Young Bucks are Collision. I think they're Dynamite. Obviously, no Bullet Club Golds. I mean, you know, a little bit irrelevant because we know they are over on the other one. So no Guns. Kenny Omega. No Kenny Omega. No Kota Ibushi, but, you know, he only really came in for that one show, didn't he? Obviously, no CM Punk. There was no Hook. There was no Jack Perry. We did get Aussie open. So just looking at the 11 matches, that were on All In, no Acclaimed, no House of Black, no Sting, no Britt Baker, no Saraya, no Hikaru Shida, no Eddie Kingston, no Penta, no FTR, no Young Bucks, no Bullet Club Golds, no Omega, no Hook, no Jack Perry. I know what people are going to say. Some of them are Collision superstars. Well, you could have had them come over, couldn't you, to Dynamite to help us out if we're struggling a little bit, right? I don't think anyone would have really been down if Bullet Club Gold had arrived and said, we know this isn't our show, but technically every show is our show. And then they just like cut a promo like that would have been okay. Oh my God, there was no Bunny. There was no Bunny. There was no Sky Blue. There was no Anna Jay. Yeah, it just felt like there was a lack of people around to me today. It just felt like we're gonna dial in on these matches and focus on these matches. We haven't really got anything else to do because we ain't got really many people around. I don't know. I don't know what we're building towards. What's next? Grand Slam, isn't it? Grand Slam's what we're building towards. Does that mean that it might be a little bit quiet for the next couple of weeks till we get to Grand Slam? Do you think that next week will just be another episode like this, where it's just a bit, I don't know, quiet? We've got to put a card together, haven't we? I mean, there were definitely some steps that we took forward. I mean, Samoa Joe, MJF. I mean, I'd imagine that's what we're going to get. Swerve and Hangman. I mean, certainly looks like we're going in that direction. So, as I said, there are reasons as to why, for me, this isn't like a 2 or a 3. Like, there's things that definitely did go down, but yeah, I'd probably be leaning more towards a 5. Some were missing because it was Bray's funeral today. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know it was Bray's funeral today. Is there, I mean, I'm going to say, are there any images? But I don't know if I want any images. It's a weird thing to ask, isn't it? WWE stars given time off similar to AEW stars, right? And that's some, got lots of links to videos. I was just having a look, seeing if there was any information or anything, but there's a lot of stuff just from a few days ago. Maybe that was it. Maybe there was some people that were that had gone to the funeral instead. Didn't know that, James. Appreciate it. Jono said Swerve should have got the nod for the international title. I like Moxley, but Swerve would have built the title and the title would have benefited him. Some of the talent were at Bray's funeral, which might explain some absences. Collision's ratings were 3, 4, 5, says AB Jobson. No Penelope Ford either, says... it gets worse, Jim. It gets worse. I don't remember seeing Kip Sabian. Mosey said, that sucks. I respect the family and what they want to do. Yeah, probably just a little private thing, wasn't it? Face Coasters said Braun Strowman tweeted about how it was a hard day, and Top Dollar tweeted that he was heading to his second funeral in 5 days. Big Time said it might be quiet for the next few months until at least Full Gear in November. Jono said Tony put out a statement saying whoever wanted to go was free to go. Okay, well there we go. That explains it. I'm very satisfied with that. So maybe just a bit of a one-off. It did feel a little quiet to me today. That could be the reason why. So we'll see what AEW have got lined up. Obviously, we can't do Collision. It's not something we can do because there's always other stuff going on a Saturday. We're doing UFC this Saturday. So we'll see as to what they do for Dynamite next week. Right. Awesome. Appreciate the support. Hope people had a relaxing Wednesday night. I don't know what we're doing tomorrow. There will definitely be some on the channel tomorrow. Definitely. And then I'll be back on Friday with the live streams for SmackDown, of course. And then, of course, UFC on Saturday as well. So awesome, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Appreciate the support as always. And I will see you